Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Pirate, L, the six-eyed Susanoo, I am the strongest. Chapter 21. Ah, my hand. Apu climbed up tremblingly, blood pouring out of his broken arm. Who are you, boy? He was so horrified that when he saw clearly that the badge on Kurosawa's shoulder was that of Sergeant Shao, he felt even more unbelievable. How could a mere Marine sergeant have such abilities? I'm a supernova. Hey, I have a question for you. I am Lieutenant Junior Grade Gyrad. You didn't respond to the commander's order. I don't care which formation you were in. Gulud on the side was still chattering, and Kurosawa was too lazy to respond. He just silently released a wisp of Conqueror's domineering energy towards him accurately. Boom. For a moment, Gulud couldn't help but take 2 steps back, looking at Kurosawa with a touch of awe in his eyes. You. The smoke and dust slowly dispersed. Gulud turned his eyes and his expression suddenly changed. You are Skalakman Apu, known as the supernova of the extremely evil era. The bounty is 198 million Bailey. Unconsciously, Gulud's voice became trembling when he spoke, and he stepped back again and again. A pirate of this level is not something he, a lieutenant junior grade, can afford to offend. At the very least, a brigadier marine must be sent to deal with it. In fact, ordinary brigadiers are really no match for Apu now. The onlookers also looked frightened after hearing what Gulud said. What? This guy is a member of the extremely evil era. Those are devils who kill without blinking an eye. It's more than that. I've even heard that wherever this extremely evil generation goes, not even a blade of grass grows, and not even a child can cry. What's going on with this sergeant? How did you provoke such a dangerous person? Gulud broke out in a cold sweat. He had already greased the soles of his feet and was ready to run away. Under the heaven-defying six-eyes 360-degree blind-angle perception, all the voices of everyone were heard by Kurosawa. Is it dangerous? Maybe. I just don't know if the L2's unlimited spell can withstand this guy's sonic explosion. If he can't stop it, it will blow up his head. With his current level of reversal spell, there is a high probability that he will send it. But that only exists in experimental situations. Just as Kurosawa expected, judging from the long-distance observation and close-range fight just now, it is impossible for Apu to kill him now. If a sonic attack of that level could hit Kurosawa, his heaven-defying 6 eyes would be blind. You're doing well, unknown sergeant. I'm going to call for reinforcements right now. Just hold on. Kurosawa didn't pay attention to the escaped Gurud, and Apu's attention was also not focused on such a deserter. Chaos and beheading. Seizing a certain opportunity, Apu suddenly jumped into the air, and at the same time, his remaining palm flicked toward his chest. Waves of invisible sound waves ejected, and a victorious smile appeared on Apu's face. His Devil Fruit's ability attacks are invisible, and many opponents have been cut in half by him before they even understand what's happening. Judging from this kid's reaction, it's probably the same. Die. Apu had a ferocious smile on his face, as if he had seen Kurosawa being cut in half. However, the next second, Kurosawa's figure disappeared just before the sonic slash was about to arrive. What's going on? Apu was shocked. A figure appeared above him like a ghost. Click. Kurosawa sensed the place where he was just now, and the sound wave cut through it like a knife. Even the hard bricks were cut off by it. It's quite a powerful force. Seeing this, Kurosawa no longer hesitated, raised his long legs high, aimed at Apu's head, and then slammed down with a kick from Kenghei Black Flash. Boom! Apu's body was blasted into the ground again. The difference was that this time he quickly got up again and launched several sonic explosions towards Kurosawa. Pang! Boom! Pang! Boom! Apu, whose whip was a little scattered on his head, exploded one after another, making himself panting from exhaustion, but he didn't even touch Kurosawa's hair. How can this guy be so fast? Mr. Apu, we are coming. There were shouts in the distance, and a large number of pirates were seen swarming over. Apu was shocked and angry, and finally calmed down when he heard the shouts of his men. After all, he was a pirate with a bounty of nearly 200 million, and he quickly began to analyze. This kid is extremely fast and there is nothing I can do against him. Fortunately, although he is fast, his strength is not that great. The powerful move at the beginning can only be used once. Can't die. Thinking of this, Apu felt calm. In his opinion, the sailors in front of him had no means to kill him. Kurosawa stepped aside and looked at Apu, who was still attacking. He knew that the kick just now did not cause much damage to him. It's really not easy for someone to become a supernova. If it were Miguel, he would probably be dead by now. Hey, am I too weak after all? This guy's men have also arrived. We can't continue to play like this. I have no choice but to give him seconds. Apu, who was facing a formidable enemy, kept staring closely at Kurosawa. When he met the latter's eyes, he felt something bad in his heart. But when I think about the fact that my little brothers are behind me, and I want them to stay to block the harm when the time comes, I don't believe what else I can do to him. What's your name? It shouldn't be an unknown person who can beat me like this, Apu. Kurosawa did not answer, but curled up the corner of his mouth, stretched out a finger, and the dazzling red light shined again. When Apu saw the souls of the dead, he didn't want to experience the power of this move a second time. Boom! Sonic and he exploded at the same time, and the field was once again filled with dust and smoke. Apu lost his sight in the smoke and dust. He jumped up and was about to move to a place where he could see clearly. However, a cold light suddenly flashed through. The cold light quickly magnified in Apu's eyes. When life and death were at stake, he tried his best to avoid it, at the cost of his only remaining arm. Lao Nuo's slashing attack is still faster. In a flash, Kurosawa was already in front of Apu. Spare my life, I will do anything. Under the latter's fearful gaze, his vision was spinning. Apu's head even flew out of the smoke-covered area, drawing a beautiful parabola in the air before landing with a thump. This scene happened to be seen by Miguel, who arrived just in time. Boss, you can do it alone. Mr. Apu, we're here. Just hold on. Without even a moment of mourning for Apu's death, someone who immediately rushed to the scene was an unknown pirate passerby. At the same time, in an auction in Area 1, several people who will shock the world in the future gathered together. Congratulations to Mr. Charles Saint for buying the mermaid for 500 million belly. Miguel looked at Kurosawa in shock. Even though he already knew that Kurosawa was very strong now, he never expected that Kurosawa could be so strong. Seeing Kurosawa walking out of the smoke and dust unscathed, all Apu's efforts could not even stain the white cloak of justice with a speck of dust. Miguel couldn't help but open his mouth. He actually killed the pirate by himself, and even escaped unharmed. That's a supernova. If it were a fire-burning Yamanaka, would he be able to achieve this level? Stop being in a daze, come to life. Kurosawa's reminder brought Miguel back to reality. Okay boss, you've worked hard, leave these guys to me. Chang. Miguel pulled out his saber and stood in front of the rushing pirates alone. Due to the obstruction of sight, Apu's men did not realize that their captain had gone west at this time. Rewards. Armed Color Hockey LV1 Kendo LV1 have been distributed. Ding. Congratulations to host for completing the first kill of a pirate with a bounty of over 100 million. The additional reward is a bounty worth 10,000 points. Listening to the sound of bounties being paid continuously, Kurosawa felt extremely happy inside. Normal reward value. 7,400. Billion level bounty value. 29,800 points. Looking at the balance of the bounty value, Kurosawa has never felt so rich. This ultimate bubble bath is really worth it. After working hard for so long, it's time to reap the fruits of my persistence and hard work. Kurosawa smiled slightly and opened the system panel. He saw so many skills finally locking on the target. System, give me more. Ding. Congratulations to host for injecting 3,000 points of normal bounty value. The spell is reversed and he is upgraded to LV2. Ding. Congratulations to host for injecting 3,000 points of normal bounty value. The natural fighter has been upgraded to LV2. The normal bounty value is still 1,400, and no skills can be added. After thinking for a while, Kurosawa decided not to use the billion level bounty value to inject it into ordinary skills. Ding. Congratulations to host for injecting 1,000 billion level bounty value. Heaven-defying 6 eyes upgraded to LV3. Continue. Ding. Congratulations to host for injecting 1 trillion level bounty value. Spell reversal he upgraded to LV3. As the most powerful output method at present, the upgrade order of reversal he is naturally at the forefront. Before Lao Nuo's technique and solution evolved into a slash that cut off the world, its power was still a bit weak. Gone. It's gone now. Normal reward value, 1400. Billion level bounty value, 9,800 points. Why is this Apu so useless? He is only 200 short of being able to upgrade his natural fighter to LV3. Being able to perfectly combine and use all skills of the same level, the natural fighter's blessing to Kurosawa's combat power is self-evident. Boss, just watch my performance. After Miguel finished speaking, he raised his knife and charged forward with a shave. Kurosawa, who had finished adding points, did not take any action. It was a one-to-many melee. I believe Miguel can absorb a lot of experience from it. The war on the top is about to begin, and training then will all rely on breakthroughs before the battle. In order to better allow the pirates to surround Miguel, while no one was watching, Kurosawa formed a ball and twisted Apu's body into a ball, and then kicked him into the garbage. It seems, we have to hurry up to get more bounties. The lieutenant general of the top war company was killed like a dog. With his current strength, he is probably not much better and can barely protect himself. Pirates with a bounty of over 100 million are hard to find, but there happens to be a gang of extremely evil people on this island right now. Kurosawa smiled slightly. He couldn't wait for Luffy to make a big fuss. The movement at that time will attract all the extremely evil times. As for why not arrest them directly? Sorry, I really don't know the way. Who reads so many comics and memorizes them? Besides, remembering is one thing, coming here is another. There is no bad map navigation here. Turning to Miguel's battle. At this time, Miguel had only rushed out for a minute, but he was already covered in paint. It has to be said that to be able to stand out and become a supernova in the first half of the Grand Line, he is a small fish with some strength, at least not as threatening as an ordinary shrimp. After Miguel killed nearly 10 pirates by surprise at the beginning, he was surrounded and then attacked in turns in a rhythmic manner. Rao is an outstanding student in the training camp like Miguel, but he also feels tremendous pressure. If he hadn't mastered the iron block, Miguel might have suffered more than just a loss. Why is Mr. Apu missing? Marine, tell me where Mr. Apu is. Otherwise I will cut you in half. Miguel couldn't stop so many people, and some pirates rushed towards Kurosawa, who just stood there. Seeing that they were ignored like this, the furious pirates slashed at Kurosawa with their knives, but the blade stopped only a few centimeters away from Kurosawa and could no longer fall. What is this? Is this guy also an esper like Mr. Apu? While the pirates were shocked, Kurosawa's attention was not here. His keen sense made him realize that there seemed to be quite a commotion happening on the island. Boom! A violent roar came from elsewhere, followed by several equally violent explosions. When everyone didn't understand why, Kurosawa followed the sound and went. The place where the explosion came from was Area 1. If he remembered correctly, there should be an auction there. Could it be? Blah blah blah. Kurosawa's portable phone rang, ignoring the blade that was slashing at him. Kurosawa answered the phone as if nothing had happened. Kurosawa, where are you now? Pirates from the auction party in Area 1 attacked the celestial dragons. Go quickly to support. Hearing this, Kurosawa curled up his lips and said, "Come to life." With a swipe of his finger, the heads of the pirates surrounding Kurosawa flew up. Under the protection of unlimited spells, the blood spurted out could not even splash on Kurosawa's body. Miguel, Kurosawa shouted, jumped up into the sky, raised his hand and pointed around Miguel. The technique turns to Kang. The terrifying blue ball swept across a circle and directly rolled up all the pirates surrounding Miguel into a ball. Done. Boss, Miguel couldn't help but exclaimed, and he cleared the field with one move. Even though he had seen it before, he still couldn't help but feel shocked. Kurosawa, are you ready? Miguel, what are you ready for? Kurosawa, fly. Miguel, Kurosawa smiled, then raised his hand to control Kang's strength and directly sucked Miguel into his hand. Then his face changed. Oops, this guy is quite heavy. If he only relied on the physical blessing brought by level 1 physical skills, he would really have to spend a lot of effort to bring Miguel there. Fortunately, with Kang's suction power, it was relatively easy, but I still had to find opportunities to improve my physical skills. Boss, what are you doing? Looking at himself hanging in the air, Miguel couldn't help but wonder, by the way, boss, I just wanted to ask. Is this moonwalk? Why is your moonwalk so fast? Kurosawa. Stop talking nonsense and let's go. Whoa. Under everyone's confused gaze, Kurosawa carried Miguel and flew high in the sky. Mom, he can fly. Is he Superman? Holy Land Marie Joya. After listening to the report, Warring States looked ugly and held his forehead. Is it that kid again? He keeps getting into trouble. What's going on with that family? Annoying the Tianlong people meant that they had to send out generals again. General-level combat power was wasted on this kind of thing, and the Warring States period also felt helpless. The officer on the side replied, according to information, in addition to Straw Hat Luffy, there are also more than 5 pirates with bounties worth over 100 million, including Eustace Kid and Trafalgar Law, at the scene. Quote. After listening to the report, Porosalino, who was sitting aside, took a leisurely sip of tea. Yo, anyway, we can't do something like the attack on World Noble without taking action, right? Mr. Sengoku. When Sengoku heard the voice, he turned around in disbelief and looked at Porosalino, who was standing up. Could it be that this guy who has always only known how to clock in and get off work at a certain time, who always thinks about asking for leave when he has nothing to do on weekdays, has finally enlightened himself today? Warring States felt excited in his heart. Great, at this point, Porosalino can finally take on the responsibility. Porosalino, just let me go. I'll be back soon. Don't worry. Without doubting his presence, the Warring States period immediately approved it. Porosalino smiled mysteriously, and then slowly walked out of the door. The junction of Area 2 and Area 1. Kurosawa and Miguel flew quickly, and with the blessing of the heaven-defying Six Eyes upgraded to LV3, they were able to fly in the air for a long time. There are actually pirates who dared to attack the Tianlong people. What do you think, boss? While Miguel was amazed, he suddenly saw a huge boulder coming towards them. Boss, be careful. Without Miguel's reminder, Kurosawa carried Miguel and disappeared in the air with a whoosh. On the ground in the distance, a figure that looks like a small giant maintains the posture of throwing boulders, and there are white wings behind it. Ulki laughed. Did this flying sailor actually get out of the way? This is the first time I've seen a flying marine. It's really different near the marine headquarters. Miguel, who fell back to the ground, saw their attacker clearly, and his expression became extremely solemn for a moment. This guy is the pirate with a bounty of 180 million Baileys, Monk Ergi. He is also a supernova known as the Evil Generation. Boss and eldest. Miguel swallowed the word heart in his stomach, and just about to remind Kurosawa, Miguel immediately felt that he was worrying too much. Kurosawa was the man who just killed Skalakapu without any injuries. That guy's bounty is 1,800,000 Baileys higher than Monk Yerki's. Kurosawa didn't say a word, but walked towards Yerki silently, with a gloomy expression on his face. I finally tried to show off, but was interrupted by this idiot. Are people in this pirate world so sick? The Marine General doesn't run away anymore, so he still has the leisure to take action against a small Marine like him. But, the bounty is 180 million Baileys, but it was delivered to your door yourself. Kurosawa smiled slightly and chose to forgive Yerki generously. Haha, what did you say? You look young, but your tone is quite serious. Look at what you mean. Do you still want to arrest me, Sergeant? Yerki laughed, obviously not taking Kurosawa seriously. But this is normal. After all, as a pirate with a bounty of nearly 200 million, he has killed countless Marine sergeants. How could Kurosawa be regarded as a rival? Kurosawa didn't answer, just looked at the guy in front of him coldly. He would not let go of this walking bounty worth 18,000 points no matter what. What kind of causal reaction does this guy's ability seem to have? Kurosawa couldn't remember clearly, but he remembered that he would become stronger after receiving damage, and this guy looked rough and thick-skinned. Even a thin-looking supernova like Apu could resist being beaten so much. I'm afraid this guy was even more outrageous. Luffy is still waiting for me to arrest him, so we can't waste too much time here. Thinking of this, Kurosawa stretched out a finger, and the reversal he, which was upgraded to level 3, suddenly lit up with a shining red light, and a huge amount of spell power surged across the field instantly. Seeing this, Kurosawa's heart moved slightly. This upgraded power seems to have a very good effect. The red light gradually shone. Yurki smiled, raised his fist and rushed towards Kurosawa. Boy, no one is stupid enough to stand still and wait for you to take action. Before he finished speaking, the red ball of light flashed out, so fast that even a supernova like Yurki had no time to react. In the blink of an eye, he had already entered Yurki's body. The next second, Ulki's pupils widened, and the dazzling red light directly engulfed his mountain-like body, and an extremely violent roar resounded throughout the audience. Boom! The strong wind swept, the earth trembled. The howling wind even blew Miguel behind Kurosawa back a few steps. However, Kurosawa himself had unlimited magic defense and was not affected in any way. Is this the move that defeated General Yamanaka in one move? Miguel looked at the sweeping wind in surprise from the gap in his palm. After being knocked unconscious by Kurosawa in the training camp that day, he had not yet experienced the power of the reversal heat technique. Now it seems that Yamanaka, who is on fire to meet this blow, will be worthy of being a real man. It's a pity that all the beard is burnt. The raging smoke and dust wind did not block Kurosawa's sight. Through the observation of heaven-defying six eyes, he could clearly see Yurki lying on the ground gasping for breath, his bloody chest and messy breath. He looked like he was seriously injured. The power of level 3 reversal heat spell has already exceeded the maximum output of the instant cast, and it still has the 50% improvement brought by the natural fighter, and the speed is much faster. According to Kurosawa's estimation, even the lieutenant generals in the headquarters would not be able to escape when faced with the current heat. At least Huo Shaoshan can't. Just when Kurosawa was about to make a last-ditch attack, within the perception range of heaven-defying six eyes, a figure with a slightly familiar aura quietly approached. Ding! The current situation of the host has been detected, and a new life choice has appeared. Life choice 1. Being extremely confident in your own strength, you immediately kill Ulki, and at the same time kill Basil Hawkins who is coming. Reward. The sword level is increased to LV2. Life choice 2. You feel that you are not sure, so choose to let Yurki go, and turn around to kill Basil Hawkins who is coming. Reward. Fighting instinct LV1. Life choice 3. You feel that now is not the time to show your strength, so choose to retreat. Reward. Reduce the prestige level to LV1 and gain the systems. Looking at the last choice, Kurosawa just said hehe, is there any need to choose? As for the skill, fighting instinct, it is a bit interesting. Its effect is that it can automatically fight back when encountering danger after losing consciousness, including coma, becoming mentally retarded, etc. However, this skill is not very practical in Kurosawa's opinion. He's so systematic and yet he's beaten unconscious. He might as well stop playing. Kurosawa raised his hand and scratched Yurki's neck. Technique explanation. The extremely sharp slash directly cut off the neck of Yurki, who was unable to resist. Your Excellency, please wait. Hawkins's voice came from a distance, but it was too late. Looking at Yurki's head rolling down, Hawkins's eyes were full of doubts. That shouldn't be the case. I saw Yurki's face today, and it doesn't look like he's dead. Kurosawa's eyes fell on Hawkins, and his heaven-defying six eyes felt the thick and strange aura emanating from the other person. At this moment, Kurosawa suddenly understood where that familiar feeling came from. Yes, if I remember correctly, what Hawkins ate should be the Paramecia straw fruit. However, although the scarecrow he created can bear damage for the main body, it is just a substitute technique after all. Moreover, this substitution technique is not invincible. Once all the scarecrows are eliminated, the main body will suffer a fatal blow. From this point of view, the weakness of this fruit is still very obvious, and it only needs to be crushed. Thinking of this, Kurosawa smiled confidently. Hawkins's face had become extremely solemn at this time. Since his debut, his fortune-telling has never made any mistakes. But why not today? Give me a moment. Putting aside these words, Hawkins ignored Kurosawa and started divination directly on the spot. The chance of escaping is 36%, the chance of losing the battle is 87%. The pirates under Hawkins were obviously not as calm as him. Who is that Marine? He actually cut off the head of that weird monk Yurki. Could it be that he is General Marine? You are a stupid pig. You didn't see that guy's shoulder badge. He's obviously just Sergeant Shao. How is it possible? A mere sergeant can kill Ulki. Quote. Miguel had just recovered from the shock, and when he saw the person clearly, his expression became tense immediately. This guy is also one of the supernovas of the extremely evil era. Basil Hawkins. The bounty is 249 million Baileys. There is very little information about him in the intelligence. Kurosawa's eyes lit up when he heard this. Such a high bounty. Miguel looked solemn and assumed a fighting posture. Why are you so unlucky today? I encountered 3 supernovas alone. Bad luck. No, Kurosawa has heard the echoes of wealth. Looking at Hawkins, who was still doing divination, Kurosawa couldn't help but sigh. As expected, he is a guy who can do divination calmly in front of General Marine. He is so calm. If he likes divination so much. Kurosawa raised his palm and began to form seals. Phase, jackfruit, pillar of light. Buzz. The continuously condensing spell power even started to tremble on the ground. Miguel on the side was even frightened by the condensed power and his hair stood up. Really or not? Why do you feel that this move by the boss is more terrifying than the one before? The red light from Kurosawa's spell was like a second sun, illuminating the entire square. Hawkins' men were already in chaos, anxiously urging Hawkins to run away as soon as possible. Boss, why don't you run away? You will die. However, Hawkins didn't seem to hear it, because he had already calculated that he would not die today. Even though he had made some small mistakes just now, he was still extremely confident in the results of his divination. Hawkins, it's okay, I won't die. After finishing speaking, Hawkins looked at Kurosawa. Although his cold black pupils were already occupied by red light, he still smiled slightly and said, "The power used by this marine is quite similar to mine." Buzz. The full power of the spell reversal he has been formed. Facing a person with abilities like Hawkins, the best solution is to kill all his substitutes with one blow. Kurosawa smiled. Spell reversal H. Buzz. With a flash of red light, the building where Hawkins was instantly submerged. If Kurosawa hadn't been protecting him, Miguel would have been blown away by the strong wind caused by the explosion. Hey, boss, the power of your move is too amazing. I'm afraid it can't even destroy a warship. Seeing the explosion caused by Kurosawa, Miguel's eyelids couldn't stop beating. His eyes widened and his face was full of shock. The glass of the buildings around the square was shattered, and the tall building was blown up along with the buildings behind it, raising dust all over the sky. The once bustling streets have now become ruins and the ground is in a mess. And the group of pirates was even more miserable. Their bodies were blown to pieces, and their blood stained the ground red, like a terrible nightmare. Kurosawa said nothing and disappeared from the spot. The next moment, Kurosawa's figure appeared silently among the ruins. Looking at the safe and sound Hawkins in front of him, Kurosawa had a playful expression on his face. Your ability is really interesting. At this moment, Hawkins was no longer as calm as before. The sweat on his forehead showed this, but he still pretended to be calm. There is an inexplicable familiarity between your and my abilities. I thought we would become good partners. Kurosawa. Haha, why do you deserve to be my partner? Hawkins. Kurosawa. All the men you brought are dead. I'm curious, how many lives do you have left now? Seeing the smile on Kurosawa's face, Hawkins' heart couldn't help but beat wildly. Kurosawa just acted without martial ethics and wiped out all his substitutes in one fell swoop. Now he has no substitutes. In other words, as long as Kurosawa kills him again, he will really die. No, calm down. I wish I didn't have a dead look today. After a moment of silence, Hawkins's face suddenly became extremely ferocious. The appearance of subduing the devil. Since the substitute has withstood the damage, Hawkins is now at full status, and Kurosawa has just released the complete spell reverse he. Although it is not the maximum output, it cannot be used again in a short period of time. Is this the oppressive feeling of having a bounty of 249 million Bailey? Looking at the scarecrow in front of him, Kurosawa's face showed a hint of excitement. He flipped his palm gently, and a dark patterned blade shining with mysterious light appeared in his hand. The blade is completely black, and the blade is covered with mysterious dark patterns that look like hellfire. It seems to contain endless power and secrets. The blade is extremely sharp and shines with a cold light, making people shudder. Ding! Congratulations to the host for using the supreme sword level weapon for the first time. Reward. Yidao style Kang Yida LV1. This is sword skill. The moment he held the dark knife hilt, with the blessing of a natural fighter, all low-level skills were perfectly used by Kurosawa at this moment, and all received a 75% increase. The various skills of taijutsu and kendo are combined in an instant to create the current optimal fighting style. And the skills Kurosawa just learned through his own talent. This sword will be wielded to the extreme. One sword style, blue, one flash. Blue light wrapped around it, and with the extremely sharp slashes and Kang's amazing tearing power, even the scarecrow's hard claws were chopped off by Kurosawa. This sword combines armament haki, jutsu shirin Kang, jutsu jia, kendo, and taijutsu, covering most of Kurosawa's skills. Coupled with the bonus of being a natural fighter, it is not difficult to imagine how powerful it is. Even the scarecrow after Hawkins' demonization is as vulnerable as paper. How is it possible? Under Hawkins' disbelieving gaze, the famous sword and indirectly cut him in half. Crack. The huge scarecrow's body was separated from top to bottom, and Hawkins's scarlet eyes were dimming rapidly. He didn't know until his death why his divination was wrong and why he died today without a sign of death. Ding. Congratulations to host for killing Basil Hawkins and earning a billion level bounty of 24,900 points. Ding. Congratulations to host for achieving the phased achievement reward unlocking conditions, the end of the evil generation 3/11. Reward. 100 million level bounty value plus 8,000 points. Normal bounty value. 1,400 points. Billion level bounty value. 42,700 points. Get rich. Kurosawa took Yami back into the system space and looked at the full bounty value. Kurosawa smiled slightly. My persistence and hard work finally paid off today. The system will add some points to me. Ding. Congratulations to host for injecting 1,000 billion level bounty value. The natural fighter has been upgraded to LV3. Then how to distribute the remaining 32,700 points? If you have the blessing of a natural fighter, it is best to upgrade them all to LV3 first, so that you can maximize your combat effectiveness. Thinking of this, Kurosawa no longer hesitated. Ding. Congratulations to host for injecting 1.3 billion level bounty value. The spell and solution have been upgraded to LV3. Ding. Congratulations to the host for injecting 1.3 billion level bounty value. The spell reversal Kang has been upgraded to LV3. Seeing his newly rich balance ebbing away like a tide, Kurosawa couldn't help but feel a pain in his body, but he had no choice but to bite the bullet and continue to add more. Ding. Congratulations to host for injecting 300 billion level bounty value. Swordsmanship has been upgraded to LV3. Ding. Congratulations to host for injecting 1,400 points of normal bounty value and 10 billion level bounty value. Upgrading physical skills to LV2. Ding. Congratulations to host for injecting 150 billion level bounty value. Armed color domineering upgrade to LV2. Ding. Congratulations to host for injecting 150 billion level bounty value. Yidao Flow Kang Yidian has been upgraded to LV2. At this point, after Kurosawa's unremitting efforts, the reward value is only 600 points at the billion level. Gone so quickly, Kurosawa looked at the empty balance and couldn't help but feel a headache. He still has so many skills that he hasn't had time to add points to. It's still not enough. He needs to earn more bounty points. Boss, are you okay? The smoke and dust gradually dispersed, and Miguel still couldn't find Kurosawa's figure, so he shouted loudly. Miguel fell into silence until he saw Kurosawa standing in the ruins and Hawkins broken in two under his feet. Holy Land Marie Joya. Warring States stood by the window, looking at the sea with a serious expression. The recent chaos is getting more and more troublesome. Why is it happening at this juncture? According to intelligence, there are at least 8 supernovas gathered in Sabayati. These pirates, quote, there are so many guys with over 100 million bounties popping up all of a sudden. Now is not a good time to send out troops to deal with these fools. I hope Porisalino can bring some good news, otherwise the pressure will be too much. Too big. Whitebeard. With the news of Ace's execution being made public to the world, Marine has already begun frantically mobilizing troops, and the 7 warlords of the sea have also responded. Sabayati port. Bang. With the sound of a cannon, a tall figure with yellow stripes stepped on the cannonball and landed safely amidst the violent explosion of fire. Moses, 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 yo, it's really strange. Porisalino drew a long tone and kept calling the phone bug that had no answer. All the pirates who saw this scene fled in panic. Run away. Admiral Marine is here. At this time, in the Sabayati Islands, the Straw Hats have successfully escaped from the auction, and have reached an agreement with Pluton Rayleigh. They are preparing to hide safely in the Sabayati Islands for 3 days, and then set sail for the New World. However, a huge steel body blocked the Straw Hats' path. Looking at that familiar figure, everyone in the Straw Hat crew, except Luffy, looked frightened, and they all put on fighting postures, as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Seeing Luffy, who was about to step forward, Sanji quickly stopped him. Hey Luffy. Wait a minute. Luffy looked confused. What's wrong, Sanji? Do you know this guy? It's true, this guy is the 7 warlords of the sea, known as the Tyrant. Bartholomew Bear. Robin explained. A drop of cold sweat slipped from his forehead unconsciously. This was the existence that almost wiped out their group. But they obviously don't know that the Tyrant Bear in front of them is just a pacifist created by the world government, and its fighting ability is far less than the original one. But even the first-generation pacifist is still a powerful boss-level existence to the current Straw Hats. After a hard-fought battle involving everyone, the 3 strongest Straw Hats finally found the right time. Zoro, Sanji, Luffy shouted, the cooperation of the King's Wings needs no words. Devil-style feat. The finishing touch shot. Sanji rushed out first and hit the pacifist on the head with his fiery wind kick. Zoro took the opportunity to chant the move. Ghost Energy 9 Sword Style Asura Demon 9 Flashes. The violent slash landed on the pacifist, almost severing his left shoulder, and then Lu leapt into the sky. Third gear, Giant Roundabout. Bang. Under the joint attack of the 3 main forces, the pacifist PX-4 was finally scrapped. Hoo-hoo. Is everyone okay? Luffy said breathlessly. The battle just now had consumed most of his strength. However, the next second, Luffy saw everyone looking behind him blankly. What's wrong? Just when Luffy was confused, the boy with black hair and blue eyes spoke calmly. Hey, first time meeting. Luffy, be careful. With everyone shouting in unison, Luffy turned his head suddenly and saw a fist rapidly enlarging in his eyes. Black sparks alternate with blue light. Boom. Luffy's head was punched into the ground by Kurosawa, and the splashed stones shot out with undiminished power, piercing the trunk of the tree. All members of the Straw Hats looked at Kurosawa, their eyes flickering, but they all had one thought in their hearts. This marine that suddenly appeared is very strong. Luffy, you fool. Sanji roared in anger, stepped on his left foot and right foot, causing blazing fire, and rushed towards Kurosawa. Kurosawa looked at the unconscious Luffy and was thinking. To be honest, he didn't actually intend to end this guy's life right here. Although the 300 million bounty is very tempting, Luffy's bounty will skyrocket in the future. Moreover, Garp is kind to him, and there is also the sun god Nika who will appear out of nowhere. But to kill or not to kill? If you really kill Monkey D. Luffy here, what kind of changes will it cause? He is really curious. After thinking for a moment, Kurosawa raised the corner of his mouth. Ding. World movement detected. Trigger new life choices. Life choice 1. Kill Monkey D. Luffy, welcome the awakening of the sun god Nika, and survive the battle with the coming Pluton Rayleigh. Reward. Conqueror's hockey level is increased to LV5. Life choice 2. Seriously injure all members of the Straw Hats, causing Monkey D. Luffy to feel great pain, and successfully survive after Pluton Rayleigh arrives. Reward. King of the Curse LV1. Life choice 3. Stop here, and say that Marine is not a murderer, and gain the awe of the Straw Hats. Reward. The prestige level is converted into a dog-licking level. My sun god. There is also Rayleigh. This copy is a bit over the top. The meaning of the world Shiba is moving. Kurosawa's eyes flashed slightly. No wonder he could notice that Sanji's speed towards him suddenly increased so much. Is this the influence of Shiba movement in the world? Interesting. Bang. There was a dull collision, and Sanji looked at Kurosawa in surprise. You actually caught my devil wind kick with one hand. Very good. It seems that LV2's unlimited spells can't even break through attacks of this level. Kurosawa looked at his palm, and there was an infinite distance between it and the devil's feet. And even if there is no lower limit spell, Armed Color Hockey has been upgraded to LV2, and he is no longer afraid of the blazing flames of Sanji's demonic wind legs at this stage. Without pausing, Kurosawa swung Sanji's calf with his palm. Sanji, who had lost his center in midair, hurriedly tried to adjust, but how could Kurosawa give him this chance? Blue light emerged from Kurosawa's right fist, and he punched out with a heavy punch packed with armed domineering and black flash. Black sparks exploded, and a punch hit Sanji's waist, hitting him until he vomited blood and then flew backwards, smashing a rock before stopping. 1. Next, without even a moment of silence for Sanji, he was immediately followed by the current strongest 9th member of the Straw Hats, Toryu Zoro. Ghost Energy, 9 Sword Style, Asura, Ichimist Silver. The long string of words was quickly read by Zoro. If the 5-star strongest prisoner who was sleeping far away in Shinjuku saw it, he would comment highly. If the original challenger was not Susanoo but Zoro, then he might have been cut in half without even needing a loan. Chang. The dark red knife blocked Zoro's special move. The latter looked at it with a shocked expression. Even though he bit the handle of the knife in his mouth, he did not block his mouth and said, "This is a famous sword. Who are you? How can a mere marine sergeant have such a weapon and strength?" Zoro was shocked. The more he observed, the more certain he became. The grade of Kurosawa's sword was even higher than his Wado Ichiman. Kurosawa didn't speak, he was also observing. If Zoro's swordsmanship were converted into levels, it should be at LV4 now, and even above him. But Zoro's current condition is very poor, and he has many blessings. Smiling slightly, Kurosawa said indifferently, "Guys like you who overestimate your own capabilities still want to protect this person who also overestimates his capabilities and tries to become one piece." Under the desperate gazes of everyone in the Straw Hats, the darkness in Kurosawa's hand pressed down heavily, and then a blood streak appeared in front of Zoro, and blood surged out like a fountain in an instant. 2. Zoro. Chopper cried with tears in his eyes. Other Straw Hat members were not idle either and launched attacks one after another. Wawa. Before Robin could raise his hand, he severely interrupted his spellcasting with a slap, and then punched his lower abdomen until he lost consciousness. 3. Robin. Nami's eyes widened in horror. She couldn't imagine how this man came to them at such a long distance in an instant. As soon as the weather stick spit out a thunder cloud bubble, Kurosawa snatched it away and used it as a weapon to hit Nami on the butt with a stick, then stepped on her head hard and pushed it into the ground. 4. Nami. You. Swordtail. Boom. Kurosawa dodged over Brook and punched him into the ground, bringing up a large cloud of smoke and dust. 5. Frankie. The wind comes with the cannon. Usopp. Look at my sure kill. 3 consecutive hits of gunpowder stars. The wind cannon suddenly blasted. Kurosawa calmly stretched out his palm. The technique is reversed, Kang. In an instant, a large amount of spell power condensed into a huge blue ball of light. Frankie's wind cannon and Usopp's attack were directly involved in the suction force. Frankie. Are you kidding? This is Lousie's super wind cannon. Usopp's face turned pale. As Kurosawa's palm moved, the huge blue ball of light directly involved Frankie and Usopp. 7. Usopp. Frankie. Everyone. Chopper's eyes couldn't stop crying. He looked at his friend who fell to the ground. He looked at Kurosawa who was walking slowly. Do you want to go up and fight this guy? Can I win? After a fierce ideological struggle, Chopper was slapped into the ground just as he was about to take drugs. Chow. Ba. Listening to this weak voice, Kurosawa couldn't help but sigh. Is this the perseverance of the protagonist? Obviously the force he used just now would have caused him to be unconscious for a long time even if he didn't die. Kurosawa glanced sideways at Luffy, and then in Luffy's desperate eyes, he aimed at the unconscious Chopper and stepped down again. Don't want. Boom. 8. Along with the splatter of blood, Kurosawa felt that Luffy's pupils and heart were contracting violently. Seeing this, the smile on Kurosawa's face became even brighter. Straw Hat Luffy, you are such a weak guy, you can't even protect your friends, and you still want to become one piece. Another hard step. Boom. Stop it. Spurred by the threat to his partner's life, Luffy miraculously stood up and staggered towards Kurosawa. Miguel, who was watching the battle on the sidelines, said nothing. Although Kurosawa's methods were a bit cruel, he was a pirate after all, and he should be treated no matter how he was treated. Moreover, the boss's strength is really too strong. Monkey D. Luffy, who has a bounty of 300 million, pinned the infamous Straw Hat Pirates to the ground and hammered them all by himself. Simply a role model for Marine in the new era. Also watching the battle were Zan Momomaru and a pacifist. This guy is so strong, even I may not be his opponent. Zan Momomaru remembered just now that he, Kurosawa and Miguel met on the way here. It was indeed the right thing to let this guy take action. It saved my pacifist from being destroyed. Zan Momomaru murmured to himself, his eyes showing his admiration for Kurosawa. The guy who can easily blow up a pirate with a bounty of 300 million Baileys, how come he only has the rank of sergeant? Looking at Luffy walking towards him, Kurosawa raised his hand and took Usopp into his hand, then broke his nose in front of Luffy. Luffy, if you don't have the strength, what's the point of dreaming? Kurosawa punched Luffy into the ground again, and chopped off the dark sword in his hand. Whoa, a white figure flew close to the ground at a speed unimaginable to ordinary people, and then an old hairy leg stepped on the dragging child and kicked the famous sword and Chang. The flying slash carried by the famous sword was also deflected, and it flew out and chopped down a big tree in the distance. Zan Taomaru and Miguel opened their mouths in shock. Who is this old guy? The boss's attack was actually blocked. Ignoring the astonished two people, Rayleigh's reading glasses glowed with a cold light, and there was a faint smile on the corner of her mouth. I wonder which sailor is so murderous. It turns out it's you, a swindling brat. Kurosawa didn't rush to answer, his blue eyes swept over Rayleigh's slippers. Is this the legendary supreme fast shoe? It is indeed extraordinary when I see it today. Hey, long time no see, Pluton Rayleigh. Quote exclamation mark question mark quote. Rayleigh's pupils shrank. You know me. Then you still dare to trick me in Venice. People who know his name dare to take advantage of him, let alone such a young brat. How did he know? Rayleigh felt confused. Kurosawa said honestly. Haha, how can you say that? I am helping you quit your addiction out of good intentions. Haha, kid, you were still nursing while I was playing cards. Since those old guys at Marine didn't discipline them well, let me teach you today what it means to respect the elderly and love the young. Rayleigh first quickly retracted his foot, and then kicked it out again. This time the force was obviously more fierce. Kurosawa can even feel the extremely strong domineering power from above. Without saying anything, Kurosawa Mew used all his strength to slash out at Rayleigh's supreme fast shoe. One sword style, blue, one flash. Chang. The confrontation between the two instantly burst out with a powerful aura. The dancing wind blew Rayleigh's white cloak, and Kurosawa's cloak of justice also danced with the wind under this fluctuation. Did I hear you right? That guy just said this old man is Pluton Rayleigh. Is it really that Pluton? Zan Momomaru's eyes became solemn. If the legendary pirate really wants to intervene, today's situation may become very difficult and even turn into an ending that cannot be ended. Pluton Rayleigh. That's Pluton Rayleigh, the vice captain of the Roger Pirates. After a brief shock, Miguel's whole body began to tremble violently due to excitement. The boss can actually compete with such a legendary figure without losing. He is indeed a man who will definitely become the Marine Fleet Admiral. Zan Momomaru interrupted at this time. You are thinking too simply. Although this kid has extraordinary potential, how can a pirate called Pluton only have this little strength? That's a living legend. On the grass, Chang. Sparks flew from the friction between Mingdao and Rayleigh's slippers. Rayleigh's eyes turned to the famous sword enemy in Kurosawa's hand, and he became excited, but said sarcastically. I'm just relying on my youth. I have a good sword, but I can't show its strength. If you want to fight with me, even a great swordsman is not good enough. Haha, if you know you are about to be buried, just lie down in the coffin obediently. Once you are old enough to learn how to fool around, you won't be afraid of getting out of hand. Kurosawa said, his eyes drifting to Rayleigh's waist with meaning. The meaning was self-evident. Haha, if you want to anger me, you are too young. Rayleigh laughed loudly and exerted force on the soles of her feet. The sudden burst of power made Kurosawa's arms shake. That powerful force, like a tsunami, is hard to stop. Kurosawa was knocked into the air by this force and flew backwards, but there was a smile on his lips. The smelly old man is in a hurry now. Rayleigh was about to speak when he saw that Kurosawa's face was not panic at all, but instead stretched out his finger. Kurosawa's body hung upside down in the air, his slender fingers quickly formed seals, the cloak of justice on his body danced, and his blue eyes burst out with astonishing brilliance at this moment. Keen Rayleigh immediately noticed that something was wrong, and his domineering aura instantly spread out. Only then did he suddenly realize that 3 groups of blue lights appeared around him at some point. Phase, dusk, eye of wisdom. Kurosawa quickly chanted the spell in midair, and the seeds that had been planted before Rayleigh came grew at a super speed at this moment, approaching the maximum output in a very short period of time. The spell that has been upgraded to level 3, Shunjuan Kang, is like a blooming ocean firework surrounding this living legend. Interesting kid. Before being overwhelmed by the burst of blue light, Rayleigh was keenly aware of the power contained in the blue light ball, and left such a sentence with a smile, and then was completely overwhelmed by the blue light. The more interesting things are yet to come. Kurosawa's eyes turned cold. If Rayleigh directly exploded in strength, his moves would not have much effect. But unfortunately, not all the strong men in One Piece are red-haired. The first one is a divine evasion worth 3 billion. What's more, he was fighting against a fledgling marine sergeant. Rayleigh naturally wouldn't come up with all his firepower. You like to show off, don't you? Stinky old man. Kurosawa fell back to the ground. Under the defense of unlimited spells, the strong wind on the field had no impact on him. The palms quickly formed seals, and the scarlet light was extremely dazzling even on the battlefield where blue light was raging. Phase, jackfruit, pillar of light. Spell reversal he. Maximum output. Even if you were Pluton Rayleigh, this blow would be uncomfortable. Buzz buzz. Reversal of the spell, he is like a sword of the gods, instantly piercing through. The dazzling red and white light once again became the main color of the battlefield, and violent roars followed. After people in the distance were shrouded in red and white light, they heard extremely violent explosions. An astonishing hole was opened in the 2 main tree trunks that were extremely strong and supported the Sabayati Islands. With a clicking sound, the 200-meter giant trees that formed the Sabayati archipelago fell. Naturally, this scene cannot escape the eyes of the supernovas scattered throughout the Sabayati Islands. Akahata Drake. Such an attack. As expected, it must have been done by General Marine, right? Was it Akainu or Kizaru? Anyway, the plan needs to be tightened up. Trafalgar Law. What an astonishing attack. If the opponent of such an attack is us, we can't even imagine it. Even the always arrogant Eustace kid remained speechless for a while after seeing such power, and just secretly clenched his fists. Capone Becky. Is it General Marine? That stupid straw hat provoked such a guy. Even my boss must be crushed in the face of this attack. Chow Ellie Bonnie stared at the explosion in a daze, and even forgot to bite the chicken drumstick in her hand for a moment. Porosalino. Hey, things seem to be getting a little tricky. Porosalino finally gave up calling the phone bug that had no answer. His eyes were blocked by his sunglasses and he couldn't see clearly what he was thinking. 8-foot mirror. The golden light gathered into a mirror, and then the body turned into particles of light, quickly approaching in the direction of the attack. Careful. PX7. The maximum output spell, Reversal He, is so powerful that even Zon Momomaru and Miguel, who are watching the battle from afar, are affected. The violent energy impact was like a turbulent wave, spreading turbulently in all directions. The 2 people could not help but widen their eyes, with a look of astonishment on their faces. With the activation of the reversal technique, a powerful gust of wind swept in. This gust of wind, with its fierce aura, seemed to tear everything into pieces. Zon Tawin and Miguel's skin was sore from the strong wind, and they had to squint their eyes to avoid being blinded by the wind and sand. What a terrifying power, Miguel murmured in a low voice. He held the weapon in his hand tightly, and his palms even trembled slightly with excitement. Zon Tawin frowned and stared solemnly at the battlefield in the distance. They realized that this battle had far exceeded their expectations. Fortunately, Zon Momomaru ordered the pacifist PX7 to stand in front of him and Miguel in time, so he did not suffer too much damage. Boom! The violent explosions gradually subsided, and Zon Tawin's face was filled with shock. What the hell is going on with this kid? With an explosion like that, even a pacifist would be destroyed in an instant. The cost of a pacifist is not less than that of a warship, but this guy surpassed it so easily. What a joke. Miguel also felt huge waves in his heart at this moment, but when he thought that this was a move made by his boss, a proud smile appeared on his dark face. As expected of the boss. On the field, Kurosawa was hovering in the air at this time, and his heaven-defying six eyes directly saw the somewhat embarrassed Rayleigh among them through the smoke and dust. Kurosawa curled his lips. Old guy, I told you a long time ago that you can't afford to be hurt at your age. In the fierce smoke, Rayleigh's cloudy eyes flashed with horror. Kendo is about to enter the realm of a great swordsman, and he has even mastered hockey. What's even more shocking is that being able to launch such a powerful attack at this age is simply beyond imagination. Even those people who were once called monsters and now stand as the masters of the sea and are known as the emperors of the sea are not more than that at this age, right? Thinking of this, Rayleigh couldn't help but take a deep breath, looked up into the sky, and with the release of his domineering power, he could sense the inexplicable power surrounding Kurosawa. It was an aura of power that he had never seen before after sailing on the sea for so long. The move just now was probably made up of this kind of power. Even the elite lieutenant generals at Marine headquarters would never be able to achieve this kind of power. As the smoke gradually dispersed, both Zontaomaru and Miguel's eyes widened. The white-haired figure in the pothole had blood flowing from the corner of his mouth at this time, and even his clothes were a little torn. Kurosawa actually injured Rayleigh. That's a living legend. It's incredible. Ahem. Rayleigh coughed a few times and casually wiped away a trace of blood from her mouth. I admit that you are indeed a rare genius. It is a pity that a guy like you joins Marine. Zontaomaru was stunned when he heard this, and couldn't help but said, I heard you right, even Pluton Rayleigh praised this kid as a genius. You know, for a living fossil who has seen the pinnacle of the world to say such words is self-evident. Miguel just grinned, showing a mouthful of white fang. As expected of the boss. So, if you don't join Marine, will you become a pirate? Kurosawa's eyes flashed slightly, and after his heaven-defying six eyes were upgraded to level 3, his perception has reached an extremely subtle level. Not to mention the movement of wind and grass, even the sound of blood flowing can be felt by him. At this time, an astonishing force is surging inside Pluton Rayleigh's body. If it breaks out, its power will be unimaginable. Are you the Marine genius of the new era? If you die here, the old guys in Marine will definitely have a headache. There was a smile on Rayleigh's old face, and the lenses of her silver glasses were slightly reflective. Looking at Rayleigh's faint smile, Kurosawa felt a hint of murderous intent. Just a trace of leakage caused the temperature on the field to drop instantly. Even Kurosawa could notice that Zon Momomaru and Miguel, who were watching the battle from a distance, involuntarily stagnated their breathing under Rayleigh's murderous intent. They may not have noticed it themselves. Are you going to get serious? Old man. Kurosawa was not afraid to laugh back, and he tightened his grip on the famous sword enemy's arm and slowly exerted force. At this moment, he mobilized all the energy in his body to its peak. The next second, whoa, the domineering force burst, and with just one sound, Rayleigh's figure turned into an afterimage, and fierce winds were set off wherever the figure passed, like a silver bullet, shooting straight into the air. Rayleigh's movements were so fast that Zon Momoan and Miguel had no time to react. When he reappeared, Rayleigh's body was already in front of Kurosawa. Under the violent domineering shock, Rayleigh raised the sword in his right hand high, and then slashed it down. Kurosawa's pupils froze. Such speed. Tian Kong Yun sword. Buzz. Chang. A golden long sword blocked Pluton Rayleigh's attack, and the dazzling golden light shone on the pair of silver glasses. When Rayleigh saw the person blocking his attack, he sneered, "You kid is pretty fast now, Kizaru." "Oh, it's really scary. I never thought that the majestic Pluton Rayleigh would be so cruel to a Marine sergeant." Porisalinopi responded with a smile. "The old man is finally here." Seeing the tall figure with yellow stripes, Zontaowen couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, and at the same time couldn't help but complain and shout. "Old man, why are you moving so slowly? The PX-4 has been scrapped. Why do you want me to go back and write a report with Vegapunk?" General Porisalino. Miguel was a little excited. He didn't expect to see the battle between the general and Pluton today. It was so exciting. Hey, long time no see, General Porosalino. Kurosawa looked at Porosalino, who had blocked a blow for him, and said hello with a smile. You are the Kurosawa who made a big fuss in the training camp, right? I didn't expect that you have grown to this point. It's really scary. Porosalino rolled his eyes slightly and responded. There was no way, the opponent was Pluton Rayleigh, and even he had to brace himself to deal with it. You dare to be distracted while fighting with me. You really don't take me seriously. Rayleigh sneered, and the sharp blade in her hand instantly erupted with terrifying sword power. Of course, Porosalino would not wait to die. Although the pension for those who died in battle was very tempting, he had not received enough of the 5 insurances and 1 housing fund. Chang, chang, chang. In the blink of an eye, the 2 top powerhouses collided for several rounds, with no one taking advantage. Seeing this, Kurosawa dodged and quietly came to Luffy's side. Looking at the guy lying on the ground unable to resist, Kurosawa smiled slightly and said, if Rayleigh hadn't been revoked by Marine's bounty now, he would still have to try it even if he took huge risks. Rayleigh, the purpose of your trip is for Straw Hat Luffy. As Kurosawa's voice came out, Rayleigh couldn't help but change his face. The sharp famous sword enemy is currently placed on Luffy's neck. Rayleigh, who has experienced its edge at close range, has no doubt that as long as Kurosawa's arm is slightly waved, Luffy will be killed in an instant. What do you want to do, kid? Rayleigh said with an ugly expression. Kurosawa looked at Rayleigh with a half smile and said, put down your weapons and surrender. I won't kill him. At the same time, Kurosawa was also secretly observing Porosalino's movements. A question that has troubled him for a long time may have an answer today. Kizaru, are you an undercover agent of the Revolutionary Army? Chapter 31. Rayleigh said nothing, and the atmosphere at the scene fell into a stalemate. Miguel was still looking at Kurosawa with admiring eyes at this time. He is truly the boss. He can actually threaten Pluton Rayleigh. Zan Momomaru's face was serious. If Rayleigh hadn't been arrested today, Kurosawa would have been targeted. If you are held grudge by such a ferocious and powerful pirate, I can't imagine how frightening your future life will be. Rayleigh stared at Kurosawa and couldn't help but sigh. How many years has it been? It has been so long since I have seen such an amazing young man. Even Straw Hat Luffy, who just spoke boldly in front of him and said the same words as Captain Roger back then. Now he is stepped on by this young sailor. 23 years have passed since Roger's death, but there is less and less news about the One Piece secret treasure. Some people have even begun to question the authenticity of the secret treasure. With Marine's continuous suppression, the wave of big pirates has been faintly suppressed. Pressed it down. Now at this juncture, Marine has once again had such a young man with unlimited talent. Is the era of great pirates that Captain Roger started at the cost of his own life about to end? For a moment, Rayleigh seemed to have seen the near future in Kurosawa, where he was suppressed by Marine and returned to the calm sea. Boy, you are playing with fire. After a moment, Rayleigh grinned slightly, and a murderous intent instantly enveloped the entire audience. Miguel and Zan Taowen felt as if they were falling into a cold cave. The murderous intent emanating from Pluton Rayleigh was almost solid, like the extreme cold deep under the sea, which made them unable to breathe. Drops of cold sweat penetrated Miguel's back. This is murderous intent that is almost condensed into substance. How terrible. This is just a situation that has not been targeted. It is hard to imagine what kind of pressure the boss is facing. The nearest Porosalino just stared at Rayleigh. His eyes seemed to be flashing slightly, not knowing what he was thinking. Feeling the undisguised killing intent, Kurosawa's smile turned cold. Just as he was about to take action, a tall figure appeared behind him. If you wanted to travel, where would you choose? A seemingly emotionless voice sounded, and Kurosawa frowned slowly. It's actually so fast. Bartholomew Bear. The 7 warlords of the sea are here too. Miguel couldn't help but exclaimed when he saw the person behind Kurosawa. The big shot he saw today was really unexpected. This time, Zan Taowen looked at Tyrant Bear, narrowed his eyes slightly, and said nothing. Hey, what do you want to do? To everyone's surprise, Kurosawa pointed the blade at the Tyrant Bear. I can deal with these guys. You, a 7 warlords of the sea, don't seem to need to take credit from me, a marine sergeant, right? Seeing Kurosawa's actions, Miguel couldn't help being shocked. Hey, boss, are you planning to attack this guy? That's 7 warlords of the sea. But when Miguel thought about it carefully, Kurosawa picked out the entire training camp on the first day he joined Marine. He even beat General Yamanaka on fire so badly. He just killed 3 of the most evil generations and killed the Straw Hat Pirates alone. A super ruthless man who even injured the legendary pirate Pluton Rayleigh. From this point of view, whatever actions the boss takes are reasonable. Seeing the appearance of Bartholomew Bear, Porosalino did not speak, and just confronted Pluton Rayleigh, but their minds were obviously not on each other. Porosalino's eyes flashed slightly. If he saw it correctly, before he arrived, Kurosawa's combat power had already injured Pluton Rayleigh. Through the previous fight, Porosalino already knew that even if Pluton Rayleigh was not at his peak, his combat power should not be underestimated. Otherwise, with his Marine General's monster-level combat power, even a big pirate with a bounty of 1 billion will not be able to survive for long in his hands. But in the previous confrontation, Pluton Rayleigh was on par with him, which shows how powerful he is. It seems that not long has passed since the last training camp incident. This kid's growth rate is really amazing. The big black hand caressed the book in his hand. Facing Kurosawa's question, Bartholomew Bear flashed after a brief silence and reappeared in front of Luffy. Then he shot directly. Then, under Kurosawa's stunned gaze, he slapped away the Straw Hat members one by one. Don't you even bother to pretend. Just like that, in the eyes of everyone, after all the members of the Straw Hats disappeared, Bartholomew Bear said. These are extremely vicious criminals. The risk factor is too great if you are left to deal with them. In order to protect your safety, the losses have been minimized. It would be better for me to take action. As he said that, facing Kurosawa's eyes, Bartholomew Big Bear added, I won't take away the credit for killing them. You can take the credit as usual. Kurosawa twitched the corner of his mouth and looked at the expressionless Porosalino in the distance. He had already figured everything out. Maybe others don't know Bartholomew Bear's ability, but he, Porosalino, definitely knows it. As a Marine General, Bartholomew Bear was transformed by Vegapunk, or was a 7 warlords of the sea recruited by Marine. There is no reason for Porosalino not to know about Tyrant Bear's abilities, and there is no reason not to know that Tyrant Bear's actions just now definitely did not kill anyone in the Straw Hats. Good guy, just watch the Straw Hats run away like this, right? Miguel was the only co-author present at the scene. Okay, I'll see how you report it to the Warring States period. He remembered that Kizaru casually caught 500 pirates in the Sabayati Islands and solved the problem. Kurosawa smiled but said, thank you. I will remember this kindness, Tyrant Bear. Seeing that the incident had been settled, Rayleigh stepped aside and stared at Kurosawa with murderous intent. Kid, I've also taken note of your appearance. I hope your luck will always be this good. Then the figure disappeared, and Porosalino did not stop him. Miguel was a little puzzled. Why didn't Mr. General take advantage of the victory and pursue it? That's Pluton Rayleigh, a pirate who has done great harm to the world. Bartholomew Bear, the price to pay for chasing such a level of combat power is too great. Besides, Marine revoked the wanted order for Rayleigh many years ago, and now is not the time to waste combat power on him. Quote. Kurosawa naturally didn't believe these explanations. Although they made some sense, when you think about it carefully, it was not the case at all. Kurosawa. Miguel, close the team. Miguel. Yes, boss. Ding. Congratulations to the host for making Monkey D. Luffy feel tremendous pain and successfully survive in the hands of Pluton Rayleigh. Reward. King of the Curse LV1. The skill King of Curse has been activated. Under the skill effect, the skill has been automatically understood for the host. Marine Headquarters, Marineland. In the office, Huo Shaoshan was sitting at his desk. Guion, Cake, how come you guys have time to come to my place? After saying that, Huo Shaoshan subconsciously touched his stubble and couldn't help but smile after feeling the smooth touch. Since Kurosawa burned his beard, Huo Shaoshan now has to shave his beard every day, otherwise the new beard will be too ugly and damage his image. Haha, looking around, Guion said perfunctorily. She couldn't just say that she couldn't find Kurosawa, so she wanted to ask now. Just when Guion was thinking about it for a long time and was about to speak, there was a knock on the door. Huo Shaoshan, come in. Report the fire, General Yamanaka, I am Kebi. I have something important to report to you this time. Kebi saluted, and after recovering his health, he came over as soon as possible, preparing to report to Kurosawa. Because he fainted that day, Kebi did not see the faces of Gion and Cake. Kaki glanced at this pink-haired brat. Wasn't he the one who was punished by Gion to clean the toilet that day? Why did he come here? Gion also thought about it and looked a little unhappy. At this time, Baga, Huo Shaoshan reached out and answered, I'm sorry Gion, business is urgent. It's okay, you go ahead. Gion glanced at Kobe with some complaints. If the soldier hadn't interrupted, she would have asked where Kurosawa was. He ruined her good deeds again. He must continue to clean the toilet later. Oh no, he can also be used as a human sandbag. Huo Shaoshan watched as the originally white phone bug immediately turned black. He knew who was on the other end of the phone bug without even listening. Moxie, is this Yamanaka General? I am Miguel. Listening to the angry voice on the other end of the phone, he must have been unhurt. Huo Shaoshan smiled and said, how was the mission? Miguel, reporting the burning of General Yamanaka. This pirate riot in the Sabayati Islands killed 89 pirates on the spot and captured 31 pirates. Among them, a pirate with a bounty of 9 million Bailey was killed by Sergeant Kurosawa, shot dead on the spot. The riot incident was successfully resolved. Hearing this, Huo Shaoshan smiled slightly and said, you did a good job. Gion on the side frowned when he heard this, and went on a mission. No wonder no one was seen in the training camp. Kebi's face tightened. That careless guy from Kurosawa actually killed a pirate with a 9 million Bailey bounty on the spot. Are the rumors true? Miguel continued. After Sergeant Kurosawa completed his mission, he encountered the pirate who was provoking trouble, Ibuprofen Duan-kun. Kebi. Duan-kun, I have an impression that the bounty is 22 million Bailey pirates. Miguel. Then Sergeant Kurosawa shot him to death. In addition to him, there was another pirate on the scene, King Nyakulu-ji. It was Kurosawa who discovered his disguise. King Nyakulu-ji, the reformer with a bounty of 36 million Bailey. That guy is very dangerous. If I am leading the team, it is wise to avoid the sharp edge. Kebi had a serious look on his face when he heard this, thinking as if he were facing a formidable enemy. Huo Shaoshan just nodded slightly. A pirate with a bounty of 30 million is indeed a great threat. For a sergeant of Miguel's level, it is still too difficult. Miguel. Then Sergeant Kurosawa subdued him with one move and killed him on the spot. Kebi was shocked when he heard this and clenched his fists. What? Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. Huo Shaoshan was stunned for a moment. Well done. The corners of Gion's mouth raised slightly. How could the man she fell in love with be weak? Jaji disagrees. To him, a pirate with a bounty of tens of millions is not a big deal. He is not even worthy of being shot by his candidate general. But after hearing Miguel's next words, Jaji's eyes changed slightly. In addition, while patrolling Fengqing Street this morning, Sergeant Kurosawa and I met a member of the evil generation. The most evil generation. Those are all big pirates with a bounty of over 100 million. The risk factor is simply ridiculously high. We must report it and request support as soon as possible. A drop of cold sweat fell from Kebi's forehead. Just hearing about it already made me feel so oppressive. I couldn't imagine how terrifying it would be when facing it in person. The extremely evil generation. It's worth my while. Kaji smiled confidently, thinking that for a pirate of this level, Kurosawa must be no match for him. Gion's pretty face showed worry. Have you encountered the extremely evil generation? This kind of pirate with a bounty of over 100 million is too dangerous for you, even me. No, wait. Huo Shaoshan, who was a little excited after hearing this, was keenly aware of something that was against the law. What did you just say? You went to Fengqing Street early in the morning to patrol. Are you sure you went there early in the morning? Miguel swallowed and said bravely, yes, General Yamanaka. Gion. Addition. Huo Shaoshan. Kebi was a little confused. Is this a key point? After a brief silence, Miguel continued, the name of the extremely evil era is Skalakman Apu. Kebi's eyes froze when he heard this, and then he recalled. Bailey, with a bounty of 198 million, is a devil fruit user with sonic attack power. This fruit ability kills people invisible and can produce large-scale explosions. The degree of danger is extremely high. I'm afraid it's only the colonel. No, only a major general can lead a team to compete with it. I can do it alone, Kaki said proudly, and then quietly looked at Gion, wanting to see the latter's reaction. Unexpectedly, Gion didn't pay attention to him at all, but asked, "Kurosawa is not injured, is he?" Miguel heard this somewhat familiar voice and immediately recalled, "Report to Lieutenant General Gion that Sergeant Kurosawa was not injured." He immediately notified the garrison to come for support. Everyone nodded and said it was reasonable. After all, the strength was insufficient, so calling for support was a wise move. But Jaji is a sign of pride. If he were present, there would be no need to go to such trouble. Huo Shaoshan. What does this guy want to do when he comes to the Sabayati Islands? Do you know his intentions? No. Hearing Miguel's righteousness, Huo Shaoshan was about to speak when he heard Miguel continue. Sergeant Kurosawa immediately flew over to kill him. Due to the lack of time, when I arrived, the man Supernova's head has already fallen to the ground, and there is no time to ask. This is too impulsive. I thought it was somewhat rational, but I didn't expect. Wait, what did you say? Killed. Kirby clapped his hands and then looked annoyed, but he quickly reacted to the second half of Miguel's words, and his expression gradually became more exciting. What? Kurosawa shot that guy to death. Huo Shaoshan also stood up from his stool suddenly, his tone suddenly raised a few points. Jaji looked slightly surprised. Killed a supernova. That guy must have been seriously injured. Hearing Jaji's words, Kebi was obviously relieved. This is consistent with common sense. If Supernova is seriously injured, he can go to him. Huo Shaoshan agreed with this. Gion didn't rush to express his position and just let Miguel continue talking. According to observation, the supernova was very active and in good condition at the time. He could kill a group of pursuers with just one blow. After listening to Miguel's addition, everyone fell into silence. Kebi's cheeks kept twitching. He couldn't believe that this was true. He could kill a supernova head-on. With such strength, even if he worked hard for 2 more years, he might not be able to achieve it. Why is this careless guy so strong? Kebi secretly clenched his fists harder and harder. Gion's eyes shone brightly. He is indeed Kurosawa. He is so handsome and so powerful. He is simply the perfect successor to the future general. When Kaki saw Gion's nymphomaniac look, he was so angry that he almost gritted his teeth. Oh, it's just a supernova. It's just as easy for Kaki to take action. Hiss. He took a long puff of cigarette, and then Huo Shaoshan slowly regained his composure. Being able to kill a pirate with a bounty of nearly 200 million, with such combat power, it is hard to imagine that Kurosawa is just a recruit who joined Marine less than a month ago. A monster, definitely a monster. But when he thought about this monster's current identity as Marine, Huo Shaoshan couldn't help but raise his lips. Ha ha ha, okay, with this merit, Kurosawa can be promoted to ensign when he comes back this time. I will write the reasons for his promotion. Having said that, Huo Shaoshan was about to hang up the phone, and Miguel quickly said, "General Yamanaka, I have something to report." Huo Shaoshan slapped his forehead. "Oh yes, I almost forgot about the attack on World Noble. Miguel, this incident broke out not long after the killing of Skalakman Apu. Then, when Sergeant Kurosawa and I went to support, we met another extremely evil generation. Monk Yerki." Huo Shaoshan raised his eyebrows, and the raised corners of his mouth gradually sank. What? Meet another member of the extremely evil era. Everyone present was shocked. Encountering pirates of this level one after another was not a good thing for a mere marine sergeant. Monk Yerki, that guy's bounty is 180 million belly. But the level of danger is not low at all. Kebi was worried on the surface, but secretly happy on the inside. In his opinion, no matter how strong Kurosawa is, if he continuously encounters supernova-level opponents, he will definitely pay a heavy price. You have just experienced a fierce battle. Since the other party does not harm civilians, you should avoid it first. After listening to Miguel's words, from Huo Shaoshan's point of view, although Kurosawa is very strong, it still requires a fierce battle to kill a pirate of this level, so it will inevitably consume a lot of energy. After all, even he would not be able to retain his full physical strength after defeating a member of the extremely evil era. If Kurosawa encounters another extremely evil generation at this time, he may not be a match for him. As expected, after hearing the news, Gion's face showed concern again. Seeing this, Cake took the opportunity to brag, "Don't worry, Gion. Even if you encounter 100 little pirates like this, they will never be my opponent, Cake. I will definitely protect you." Gion directly interrupted Cake's speech, "Shut up. Keep talking, is Kurosawa okay?" "Miguel. Don't worry, Lieutenant General Gion. The strange monk Yurki took the initiative to attack us, and was killed by Sergeant Kurosawa on the spot." Then another member of the evil generation appeared. Kirby. Addition. Gion. After a moment of silence, except for Gion, everyone else had 2 question marks on their heads. Huo Shaoshan said in surprise, "You mean Kurosawa killed another one after killing a supernova? The weird monk Yurki with a bounty of 180 million Bailey, and then you met another one?" Quote. Kebi couldn't believe it, his voice was trembling, "This is impossible. How could he have the strength to kill 2 supernovas? Those are a group of pirates known as the extremely evil generation." Miguel's words obviously went beyond Jaji's expectations. Although he boasted that he could kill 100 supernovas, in terms of actual strength, to deal with 2 pirates with a bounty of nearly 200 million in succession, at least the headquarters, strong men at the level of Lieutenant General must be dispatched to secure the victory. Doesn't it mean that this brat from Kurosawa now has the strength of a Lieutenant General in the headquarters? As expected of Kurosawa, the man I like will definitely become a Marine General in the future. Gion's eyes were shining at this time, making no secret of his love. This made Jaji on the side very unhappy, his face twisted together, but there was nothing he could do. Miguel. Yes, General Yamanaka. Next up is Basil Hawkins of the evil generation, and then Sergeant Kurosawa used the same move that defeated you in the training camp to kill him instantly. What? Basil Hawkins. That's the big pirate with a bounty of 249 million Baileys. Even among the supernovas, the bounty ranking is extremely high. He was also killed by Kurosawa in an instant. At this moment, Kebi just felt that the sky was falling. Even if he was given a few more years or 2 years to achieve these huge achievements, it would be difficult for him to achieve them. Jaji said nothing, but became more and more silent. The light in Gion's eyes became brighter and brighter, and his face even turned a little rosy. Hearing this, Huo Shaoshan recalled the feeling of the red light on his face that day. Hawkins, who had a bounty of 249,000, was also killed instantly, but he managed to survive. This shows that he is very powerful. Immediately, Huo Shaoshan couldn't help but said happily, "Kill 3 extremely evil generations in a row, ha ha ha. This kid Kurosawa will at least be promoted to Major when he comes back." Major. Burn General Yamanaka. Now I really doubt whether you are maliciously suppressing recruits. Gion shouted immediately, pointing his white finger at the burning mountain with an evil look on his face. You must know that a pirate with a bounty of nearly 200 million has committed so many crimes that he has killed countless civilians. And Kurosawa directly killed 3 such pirates. At least he has to be promoted to Lieutenant Colonel. Otherwise, I'm afraid it will chill the hearts of countless sailors who have sacrificed their lives and shed blood. Looking at Gion, who was a little excited, Huo Shaoshan quickly waved his hand and said, "Gion, don't be excited. I was confused for a while. I just want to be promoted to Lieutenant Colonel." HMPH. Gion snorted coldly and crossed his arms. Huo Shaoshan was a little helpless. Gion's status was quite special. If she really got angry, it would be easier for him than him. The phone bug's mouth continued to open and close, and Miguel paused and added, "However, the move used by Sergeant Kurosawa seems to be more powerful every time, and later we meet all the members of the Straw Hat Pirates." The Straw Hat Pirates. It's Luffy Senpai. Kebi's eyes widened in surprise, and he hurriedly covered his mouth when he realized that he had spilled the beans. Fortunately, no one paid any attention to what Kirby said. Hearing that it was the Straw Hat Pirates, Huo Shaoshan looked a little solemn. The rare elite line pirate group, within just a few months of their debut, first defeated the dragon pirates, then committed evil in Alabasta, and even defeated Crocodile under the 7 warlords of the sea. The same goes for the Judiciary Island incident. Even Rob Lucci, known as the strongest genius in world government for 800 years, was defeated by the Straw Hats. And its members are still growing as they continue to do evil. Such vicious pirates. At this moment, Kebi wanted to argue, Senior Luffy is not that kind of person. But it's a pity that if Kebi, who has no strength, really dares to say this, the best ending is to stay in the toilet until the end of time, and it is more likely to be pulled out and shot on the spot. Even Cake and Gion have heard about the reputation of the Straw Hat Pirates. Kaji smiled slightly. Such a Straw Hat Pirates are indeed very threatening, but they are still not as good as my Kaji. Miguel. Sergeant Kurosawa didn't say anything after meeting the Straw Hat Pirates. He punched their captain, Monkey D. Luffy, to the ground with one punch, rendering him incompetent. What? Knocked down Luffy Senpai with just one punch? This is impossible. Luffy Senpai is so strong. Kirby roared in his heart, still unable to believe that the man who he thought was invincible and who led him to join Marine would be defeated by Kurosawa. Killed him with one punch. Has that kid already learned domineering? Otherwise, I remember that his physical fitness is not up to this level of strength. Huo Shaoshan was thoughtful when he heard the words. Miguel, is it domineering? I think your inference by Yamanaka is very reasonable. And according to my observation, Sergeant Kurosawa seems to get stronger when he is strong in battle. Kurosawa has realized hockey in such a short time. He is truly the #1 genius of Marine. Gion said with eyes shining. When Jaji heard this, he also wanted to take the opportunity to praise himself, but when he thought of the age when he learned to be domineering, he silently closed his mouth. Miguel. The remaining Straw Hat members wanted to step forward to rescue the captain, but they were knocked down one by Sergeant Kurosawa. The whole process was very fast, as effortless as beating a chicken. Kebi was numb after hearing this, and his palms were already covered with sweat. Miguel became excited as he spoke. And then the climax is coming. Now, after hearing this, everyone on the other end of the phone couldn't sit still. And Miguel seemed to feel the unusual atmosphere, and couldn't help but feel proud. Instead of speaking in a hurry, he paused deliberately. Oh, defeating Straw Hat Luffy with a bounty of 300 million is not considered a climax. Huo Shaoshan's curiosity was completely aroused. What else happened next? Gion listened intently. She really wanted to know how outstanding Kurosawa's performance was. Jaji said impatiently. Hurry up and tell me, why are you so tight-lipped? Miguel continued. Sergeant Kurosawa defeated all the Straw Hats, not only physically but also completely psychologically. Then, when Sergeant Kurosawa was about to behead Monkey D. Luffy on the spot, a character that no one expected appears. Who? Do they have accomplices? Huo Shaoshan was confused when he heard this. Jaji couldn't help but be curious. Gion frowned. Who would dare to ruin Kurosawa's good deeds at this time? Kirby also didn't want his senior Luffy to be beheaded, let alone Kurosawa, so he listened carefully. Based on the shape changes of the phone bug, Miguel could guess the reaction of everyone on the other side of the phone bug. He felt a little proud and said word by word. Pluton, Silba's Rayleigh, ... The conversation fell into silence. Miguel looked at the phone bug's mouth that kept opening and smiled slightly. Pluton Rayleigh, are you sure? Is that One Piece Roger's right wrist, Rayleigh? Huo Shaoshan was a little unsure, and his voice became trembling when he spoke. Gion's eyes showed deep solemnity and worry. That living legend would actually take action at this point. Wouldn't Kurosawa be in danger? Jaji's face was equally solemn. Facing the once peak powerhouse in this sea, even he dared not say that he was sure of victory. From Kaji's point of view, Kurosawa is probably cool now that he has provoked such a person. I will soon hear the news of Kurosawa's death. How should I comfort Gion? How about sending me the warm embrace of Lieutenant General Cake? Kirby tried hard to suppress the joy on his expression. Although he didn't know why Pluton Rayleigh would help Luffy Senpai, it was not important. The important thing was that Kurosawa could not be Pluton Rayleigh's opponent. Can't even take a move. In other words, Kurosawa is going to die. Gion said anxiously. What's the situation? Keep talking. Miguel chuckled. Don't worry, Lieutenant General Gion, Sergeant Kurosawa didn't lose even a hair during this operation. Hearing this, Kebi was a little stunned. What does this mean? Was Kurosawa directly evaporated? Others also looked puzzled, and then Miguel's next sentence answered their doubts. Sergeant Kurosawa first blocked Rayleigh's sneak attack with an astonishing reaction, and then in a short confrontation, he beat Pluton Rayleigh to the point of vomiting blood. Quote. Hiss. What did you say? Beat that Pluton Rayleigh to the point of vomiting blood. How is this possible? Are you sure that person is really Silba's Rayleigh? Jaji just roared and spoke. In fact, he had seen Rayleigh's strength before. It is no exaggeration to say that if he met Rayleigh at the age of 18, he would be completely crushed by the opponent with one finger. Lieutenant General Jaji, that man is holding a famous sword, has silver hair, and has scars on his eyes. Later he fought with General Porisalino who came over, and there is no mistaking him. Miguel added, What? This is incredible. Jaji was speechless and stepped back involuntarily. Gion's beautiful red lips opened. Obviously she didn't expect Kurosawa to be so brave. Kebi's face was as pale as paraffin. He didn't understand why the gap between him and Kurosawa became so huge just after he cleaned the toilet for a few days. It's like a natural chasm, insurmountable. Ha ha ha. Kurosawa, good boy, I'm going to call Sengoku Fleet Admiral. If you have any questions, I'll talk to you next time. Please come back first. Huo Shaoshan laughed out loud at the sudden good news, and then his expression became serious. No, for this matter, I have to go and meet the Warring States Fleet Admiral in person. On the blue sea, a huge warship moved quickly. Kurosawa stood on the deck, his black hair gently blown by the sea breeze, and the blue in his eyes seemed to overlook the entire blue sea. The harvest this time is actually quite good. The corner of Kurosawa's lips curled up. With his current strength, even if he doesn't use all his methods, he can still fight even if he is an elite lieutenant general in his headquarters. King of Curses LV1 increase the output of curse power by 50%. Curse power attacks carry curse effects. Healing is reduced by 50%. Pain is increased by 200%. Understand the core of curse power. Skill comments. Make the world feel pain. The King of Curse even allowed Kurosawa to directly unlock Gojo Prison Master's ultimate move, Kyoshi Shiki, as well as Lao Ni's technique, 8, Secret Art, Kai, and the Field, Demon Suppressing Cook. Although the current skill levels are all LV1, their power cannot be underestimated. For example, the current virtual form Shing is 3 times more powerful than the combination of Jutsu Shift Kang and Jutsu Reversal He. If you continue to increase the level of virtual style Shing, the multiplier will increase exponentially. But the bounty value that needs to be consumed is also quite terrifying. Just the maximum output of Reversal He was able to injure Pluton Rayleigh, and at the same time destroy 2 giant trees in Sabayati. After multiplying its power by 3 times, that's seen. The reason why General Marine can be called a monster is because of his destructive power, which is like a natural disaster to ordinary people. Just like Kizaru's light speed kick, one kick creates a supernova, and the other kick breaks a giant tree. This is already the top performance of combat power in this sea. And now Kurosawa also possesses this level of destructive power. In other words, to a certain extent, Kurosawa is already qualified to compete with the top warriors in this sea. But in terms of physical skills, Kurosawa now urgently needs to improve, and the simultaneous improvement of kendo and prison skills is also imminent. With the blessing of heaven-defying 6 eyes, his speed is quite acceptable in a short period of time. Kurosawa is now equivalent to a crispy high-speed moving mage. The destructive power is enough, but he may encounter high bursts. For example, the top powerhouse's Conqueror's Winding, the current unlimited spell, may not be able to hold it. Physical skills. Kurosawa murmured to himself, and a tall yellow striped figure slowly walked over. Hey, Kurosawa-kun, you are here. The Shichibukai conference will be held soon. Sengoku Fleet Admiral asked me to ask you, are you willing to go? A few minutes ago, Huo Shaoshan came to the Holy Land of Mariajoya and personally visited the Marine Fleet Admiral Warring States. Everything you said is true. After hearing this, Sang Guo had a look of astonishment on his face, and the corners of Huo Shaoshan's mouth curled up slightly. This was the effect he wanted. He couldn't be the only one who was frightened by Kurosawa, and everyone in Marine had to know. What kind of monster was trained in his fiery training camp? Huo Shaoshan. The news was reported by Miguel. General Porosalino was also present in this battle. It cannot be false. When Warring States heard this, he felt in a trance. The 18-year-old swordsman mastered the domineering power and super high movement speed at the same time, and defeated 5 supernovas in a row. He could also fight against Pluton Rayleigh, the living legend of this sea, and finally escaped unscathed. If you look at the whole world, you won't be able to find anyone who can achieve this level of achievement. It can be said that he is the most monstrous genius since the founding of Marine. Even if Garp and him, or Kuzan, Sakazuki, and Porosalino were at this age, they would never have been able to reach such heights. Even if they were to join forces, they would probably be beaten by Kurosawa at the same time. What is this concept? A combat-level genius who is very likely to overturn the world structure is about to appear. This thought flashed through Sengoku's mind, and he couldn't help laughing. The haze previously shrouded by the Whitebeard pirates was swept away at this moment. Even if this battle cannot be completely won, when Kurosawa grows up, he will still be able to sweep across the sea in the future. Let the bullets fly for a while, so what? Thinking of this, Warring States' wise eyes twinkled. As if seeing the distant future, Marine, under the leadership of Kurosawa, arrested all the great pirates in the New World. The era of great pirates started by Roger came to an end. Call Porosalino's phone number immediately and ask Kurosawa. Oh no, ask Kurosawa for his opinion and see if he is willing to participate in this meeting of 7 warlords of the sea. Huo Shaoshan was startled when he heard this. Sengoku Fleet Admiral, although I will not deny your decision, would it not be good if Kurosawa was exposed so prematurely? Hearing Huo Shaoshan's words, Warring States just rolled his eyes at him. Sure enough, the things on the necks of these generals are just decorations. Kurosawa made such a big noise in the Sabayati Islands, do you think you can still hide it? Huo Shaoshan scratched his head when he heard this. That's what Fleet Admiral said during the Warring States period. Warring States continued. Not to mention whether Rayleigh will take the initiative to reveal the information and let all forces come to assassinate Kurosawa. I'm afraid that at this very moment, the stinky bird in the newspaper office has already written tomorrow's front page news release. Huo Shaoshan raised his eyebrows. Are you talking about Morgan's? Do you want? Warring States waved his hand, and raised a smile that took control of the situation. Since we can't hide it anymore, let's let that stinky bird give it a good publicity. And we have to take the initiative to contact Morgan's and ask him to write it properly. Otherwise, I don't mind plucking his hair. Huo Shaoshan. Yes, Warring States Fleet Admiral. Warring States turned to look out the window. Since Kuzan, Sakazuki, and Porosalino, Marine has never had a monster that can compete with them. This has also caused Marine's strength to begin to show gaps in the new era. If something unexpected happens, no one can take General Marine's place. Compared to those monsters, Gion and Cake are still far behind. Warring States' eyes glanced into the distance. The setting sun reflected on the calm sea. In these short and peaceful days, he was bound to fully establish Kurosawa's reputation as the successor of Marine in the new era. This will not only boost Marine's sluggish morale at this time, but also set an example for young people, and at the same time intimidate those who are ready to take action. Killing multiple birds with one stone is worthy of me, the wise General Sengoku. If all Marines are as brainless as Garp, they will be separated sooner or later. Shichibukai meeting. Hearing Porosalino's words, Kurosawa was stunned. Ding! The current situation of the host has been detected, and new life choices have emerged. Life choice 1. Agree to go to the Shichibukai meeting, and curse Porosalino for being an undercover agent at the meeting, neglecting his duties and letting Monkey D. Luffy run away in person, and expose his inaction in this Shichibukai meeting. Reward. The prestige level is increased to LV3. Life choice 2. Gladly agree to Sengoku Fleet Admiral's request and show some strength in the Shichibukai meeting. Reward. Armed color hockey increased to LV3. Life choice 3. You are so aloof and disdainful of such pretentious occasions, and decisively refuse the Warring States period's request. Reward. Appearance +3. Hiss. These 3 rewards seem very tempting. It's just, it's not the right time to break up with a general in public. Forget it, now that his appearance is superior to everyone in the world, there is no need to add icing on the cake. How can I refuse the invitation from Warring States Fleet Admiral? I will go. Kurosawa smiled. Porosalino. Yoshi, that's good. I can tell that Mr. Sengoku's tone still hopes that you will go. Oh, what do you think of General Porosalino? Kurosawa responded. Haha, Mr. Sengoku must be looking forward to your performance, after all, you are growing so fast now. Porosalino said absently. If the pirates on the sea are cleared as soon as possible, I can get off work early. As if he realized that he had let something slip, Porosalino glanced at Kurosawa, and when he saw that the latter had no big reaction, he looked back. This little guy is very close to Guion. It seems that I shouldn't say this to him. Otherwise, if Guion complains again, my reasons for asking for leave will be reduced by more than half. Malinfando. Huge warships like mountains docked at the port one after another, and marine elites from all over the world boarded the land one after another. Tina, Smoker, Dasky and other faces are also among them. But what is different from usual is that these marines, who can be regarded as top masters in their respective regions, can be said to be a handful in Marineland nowadays. Even the giant lieutenant general, whose punch is enough to cut through the earth and destroy a tall building, cannot be ranked among the top. Smoker's eyes swept around, looking for Kurosawa's figure. As someone who has been chasing Straw Hat Luffy for so long, it can be said that no one understands his difficulty better than him, but he was actually defeated by Sergeant Aikika, which makes Smoker very curious. The same was true for Dasky. Wearing glasses, she kept searching the crowd for the amazing-looking young man who claimed to have blue eyes. Seeing the elites that Liu was gathering one after another, the elite lieutenants of the headquarters also felt the huge sense of oppression brought by Whitebeard. Ghost Spider held a cigarette in his mouth, mobilizing so much combat power. Warring States Fleet Admiral is determined to win this battle. Doberman's voice was dull, and his eyes flashed with strong fighting spirit. Whitebeard claims to be the strongest king who rules the sea. He must not be underestimated. Steele's face was serious. It is said that Whitebeard can sink a large island with just one blow. Destroying the island with one blow, the threat posed by the world's strongest man, the devil fruit with the power to destroy the world, even the elite lieutenants of the headquarters feel a mountain of pressure. Such an enemy. It doesn't matter, the generals are still here. In the dreary atmosphere, the soldiers suddenly shouted as if they had been given blood. General Kuzan, General Sakaski. The soldiers looked at the two tall figures who appeared, with deep awe and yearning in their eyes. Representing the highest combat power of Marine, General Marine. With the existence of such a sea-fixing needle, even if their opponent is the Whitebeard pirates, they are not afraid of a fight. Another huge warship docked slowly. Kurosawa, don't forget the Shichibukai meeting waiting for you. I'm going to get off the boat first. Before Porosalino left, he gave a special reminder, which surprised Kurosawa. Okay, General Porosalino. Look, it's General Porosalino. The three generals of Marine have gathered together. This has never happened before. We, Marine, will win this war. Hey, look at the guy behind General Porosalino, with his blue eyes. Could it be that he is Kurosawa who made a fuss in the Sabayati Islands today? He killed 3 supernovas from the extremely evil generation in a row, and also single-handedly defeated the recently popular Straw Hats. It's true. He's a sergeant. How is this possible? Of course it's true. I believe it won't be long before it makes headlines. It is said that this guy just joined Marine not long ago, and as soon as he came to the military camp, he provoked the entire battalion and even beat the instructor. I'm going so hard. Could that big man next to him be the rumored 7 warlords of the sea, Bartholomew Bear? Why are there so many strong men around this guy? Marine elites from all over the world heard Kurosawa's deeds from the mouths of their own elites, and they all cast strange glances at Kurosawa. Ding! Congratulations on raising the host's prestige level to LV3. Prestige level LV3, your justice is praiseworthy. Open Black Lens Bracket Award. Reward. A billion level bounty worth 15,000 points. A random skill level will be upgraded to level 2. The permission to draw the golden prize pool is open. Hearing the sudden voice in his mind, Kurosawa was slightly startled. As he expected, today's deeds should have spread, right? He had just returned to Marineland and so many people knew about it, so the news spread quite quickly. If a random skill level is upgraded to 2 levels, what if it's Conqueror's Haki randomly? The LV4 Conqueror's Haki has already given him the power of extraordinary hearts. As long as he doesn't keep using Conqueror's Entanglement at this level, his Haki will not be exhausted at all. If it's level 6, just stop eating beef. System, let me do whatever you want. Ding. Skills are being randomly selected for host. Ding. The skill Kendo LV3 has been selected for the host to improve. Ding. Congratulations to the host for raising his sword skill to LV5. In an instant, as if he had drawn a sword and slashed countless times, a large number of obscure Kendo insights poured into Kurosawa's mind. When he opened his blue eyes again, he had already entered the realm of a great swordsman. Once he had this epiphany, Kurosawa's whole temperament changed drastically. It's like a sharp blade that's ready to go. As soon as it's pulled out, it will explode with heaven-cutting power. Miguel, who had been walking beside Kurosawa, was the first to notice the changes in the former. Boss, why do I feel like you have changed? Oh. You seem to be getting stronger again. Kurosawa just smiled when he heard this. Now that he has entered the realm of a great swordsman, even if he faced Zoro who was in full form before, he can also kill instantly with one hit. Look, that guy, he has blue eyes. Is that guy Kurosawa? Holy shit, this kid is even more handsome than the rumors say. I can't accept it. The discussion quickly reached the ears of the lieutenant generals, and Tina, Smoker, and Dasky also followed suit. Smoker. Is he the one who defeated the Straw Hats? He's so young. Tina was stunned for a moment when she saw it. Are there any handsome guys of this level in Marine? Immediately, Tina licked her mouth, and a hint of cunning appeared in the corner of her eyes. Dashi wore glasses, but it didn't stop her from being immediately attracted to Kurosawa's saber. She was so distracted that she almost hit Smoker in front of her, Private Marseille. Ghost Spider and other elite lieutenant generals looked at Kurosawa with a rare smile on their faces. We haven't seen each other for such a short period of time, and yet he has already managed to reach this level. Look at how energetic this kid is. It is true that he was able to fight Pluton Rayleigh and escape unscathed. As of now, only a few people know the news about Kurosawa's fight with Pluton Rayleigh. If everyone else is like this little guy, then the Whitebeard pirates can't be wiped out with a snap of their fingers. I have a hunch. Kurosawa, this kid, is probably going to make a big splash again in this war. Haha, I hope, this guy can't kill Whitebeard. Being able to fight with the captains under Whitebeard is already extremely impressive. Quote. Boss, they all seem to be talking about you. Miguel said excitedly. If his skin hadn't been too dark, his cheeks would have turned red now. Bartholomew Bear, Kurosawa, come with me. The meeting is about to begin. It's not good to be late. Kurosawa patted Miguel's shoulder and said, you go back first, I'll go to Marijoa. Okay boss. Miguel looked at Kurosawa's retreating back inside. As expected of the boss, he can be so calm in the face of so many people's eyes. Marijoa, in a huge banquet hall, a variety of delicious seafood is placed on the gorgeous dining table, all cooked by the chef of Tianlong Holy Land. Several guys of different shapes and sizes were enjoying their meal at the dining table. Foo, you fool, do you still have the nerve to attend this meeting? Wearing a fiery feather coat, wheat brown 8-pack abs, and a pair of extremely pink sunglasses, Doflamingo looked at Mariah and said mercilessly. If you dare to say another word, you pink fool, Lousy will leave you in the darkness forever. The stimulated Mariah showed his sharp teeth. Even though his body was covered with bandages, he still did not show any shyness in this situation. Foo. This guy was defeated by a mere straw hat Luffy. I really don't know what you Marines think about letting such a guy become a Shichibukai. Tai ba, Shine. Mariah's face turned red. This fool Doflamingo had been provoking him from the beginning to now. This time he couldn't stand it anymore. His huge body suddenly stood up, his armed domineering fist wrapped around his fist, and he aimed a shot at Doflamingo's head. Dunk. Chang. Doflamingo stretched out his fingers and pulled out 5 threads to block them easily. Foo, you may not know it yet. The Straw Hats have been defeated in Sabayati today. After saying that, Mariah's shocked expression was reflected in her pink sunglasses. How is it possible? Who defeated that Straw Hat boy? He must have been seriously injured in the battle with me. If I hadn't been careless, I would never have lost. Fofu, don't worry, you will know the answer soon. The man who defeated the Straw Hat will be here soon. Doflamingo looked at Moria, with an imperceptible cold look on his lips. Just before attending this meeting, Doflamingo had secretly met with the 5 elders, one of which was to eliminate Moria in this war with the Whitebeard pirates. General Hajong, who was sitting quietly aside, narrowed his eyes slightly. Warring States looked at the two fighting again and held his forehead helplessly. Doflamingo's information is very well informed. In fact, not many people know that Kurosawa will attend this meeting, but this is not important information. Who? Moria's pupils trembled slightly when he heard this. He must have a good look at who dared to take away his opportunity for revenge. At the same time, Moria is a little curious. Those who are qualified to attend this meeting must be at least lieutenant general level or above, or have new 7 warlords of the sea joined. Thinking about this, Mariah glanced at Marshal D. Teach with an unkind look. This was the guy who captured Fire Fist Ace, the captain of the 2nd Division of the Whitebeard Pirates, alive. Otherwise, why would he be qualified to follow him? Sit together. However, Blackbeard paid no attention to the crowd and just ate his own meat, letting out a low chuckle from time to time. Jorakal Mahawk put his long legs on the dining table and opened one eye. Looking at the imageless appearance of the unqualified guys in front of him, he felt disgusted in his heart. If it weren't for the opportunity to test Whitebeard and avoid the trouble of being wanted by Marine, he would not listen to Marine's orders. Sengoku didn't even look at this group of people. If the threat posed by Whitebeard hadn't been too great and Marine needed Shichibukai's combat power to increase his chances of winning, he wouldn't have sat at the same table with this group of people. It was simply insulting. Gentle. Why hasn't Bartholomew Bear arrived yet? Report Sengoku Fleet Admiral. Sorry, I'm late. The door of the banquet hall slowly opened, and a huge figure stepped in. Behind him, there was an extraordinary-looking young man. Doflamingo's lips curved up. Here comes the person you were looking for. Mariah cast his narrow eyes at Kurosawa, with murderous intent gathering in his eyes. Is it you? After noticing that Kurosawa only had the rank of sergeant on his shoulders, Moria became even more furious. How could a mere sergeant defeat that Straw Hat boy? But Moria didn't dare to vent his anger on Doflamingo, who was also a Shichibukai, but beat this soldier up. As the 7 warlords of the sea, Marine wouldn't do anything to him, right? After all, they still have to deal with Whitebeard themselves. Thinking of this, Moria no longer hesitated, and made a sound from his mouth, and a dark shadow rushed straight from the soles of his feet to Kurosawa, like a hunter hiding in the depths. The attack was extremely obscure and secretive. Moria's sudden attack made everyone present have different expressions. Blackbeard and Doflamingo, who are both Shichibukai, both have evil smiles on their faces. No one likes eating melons and watching the excitement more than them. Mahawk's expression remained unchanged, showing no interest in such things. Before the soldiers around him could react, Lieutenant General he was the first to notice something was wrong. His expression suddenly changed, but he had no time to stop it. Sengoku's eyebrows trembled slightly as he took in this scene, but he made no move. As a Marine Fleet Admiral, even though he is old, if he really wants to stop Mariah's attack, he naturally has the strength to spare. But the reason why he didn't take action was because he was a Fleet Admiral. The reason why he wanted Kurosawa to come today was one of the purposes is to shock the pirates named Shichibukai and let them know that Marine in the new era also has a successor, and there will no longer be the same faults as before. Another reason was that Sengoku was certain that Kurosawa could not stop Mariah's sneak attack. How could someone who could injure Pluton Rayleigh be so defeated in Mariah's hands? What's more, Kurosawa had just defeated the Straw Hats, but Moria was defeated by the Straw Hats. The black shadow that was attacking quickly on the ground could not escape Bartholomew Big Bear's perception, but Sengoku did not take action. The target of this attack was obviously not him, so he chose not to take action. By the way, let's take a look at Kurosawa's strength and be able to defeat the Dragon's Son. Bartholomew Big Bear was very curious. In just the blink of an eye, the black shadow had arrived less than 1 meter in front of Kurosawa. However, as the protagonist, Kurosawa's expression remained unchanged, as if he was not aware of the attack. The culprit, Mariah, has shown a smile of success. In his opinion, the scope of the black shadow has not been discovered yet, so Kurosawa has been sentenced to death. At the same time, Moria was also upset in her heart. Doflamingo, you really lied to Lousy. How could the Straw Hat Boy who defeated Lousy lose to this guy who was just a sergeant? However, in fact, from the moment Kurosawa stepped into the banquet hall, everyone's movements and expressions had been caught by heaven-defying 6 eyes. Kurosawa could roughly guess the reason why Sengoku didn't take action. But a trial is a trial. That doesn't mean that Kurosawa has to swallow his breath, even if his opponent is 7 warlords of the sea. Seeing Kurosawa, who had not moved for a long time, Sengoku couldn't help but show a trace of doubt. Is the information wrong? This Kurosawa is not as strong as Huo Shaoshan said. If this fool kills a sailor in front of me, where will my face be? In an instant, countless thoughts flashed through Sangwo's mind, and the sleeping power in his body was about to surge. A faint stream of light was already lingering on Sangwo's body. Just when he was about to take action, Kurosawa raised his head, and his blue eyes collided with Mariah's. The latter felt enveloped in an inexplicable crisis, and cold sweat broke out on his back in an instant. Laugh. The impact of the black shadow produced ripples visible to the naked eye after the defense of the unlimited technique, but in the end it failed to contact Kurosawa's body, and its speed and power had been weakened by more than half. With an attack of this magnitude, it's no wonder that Luffy, who has no domineering power, could be defeated. But after all, this Moria is also a pirate who has been able to fight Kaido. I didn't expect that after the defeat, the decline of his heart power could actually reduce his combat power to such an extent. A sneer appeared at the corner of Kurosawa's mouth. He raised his foot and then lowered it, nailing the shadow attack to the ground. The sudden change made Moria couldn't help but let out an exclamation. When he saw Kurosawa's eyes, Moria had seen that look before. When was it? Moria's thoughts instantly drifted back to the past. He remembered that during that battle, Kaido had looked at him with such eyes. That's the kind of look that looks at the weak. Seeing that Kurosawa was fine, the Buddha's light on Sengoku's body quickly disappeared, as if it had never appeared, but Kurosawa's actions immediately made him uneasy. Lieutenant General, he also just breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Kurosawa draw his sword with lightning speed. Wang! The famous sword was unsheathed, and in an instant, the temperature in the banquet hall dropped to freezing. The coquettish and dark flame Madara tattoo is shining brightly on the blade. It is so sharp that even the swordsman standing at the top of the world can't help but look at it. Mihawk's sharp eagle eyes shrank slightly. How could he not feel it after holding the black saber for many years? The sword in the hand of the little sea soldier in front of him was definitely not inferior to his black saber. If the list of supreme sharp knives had not been fixed by predecessors, this knife would definitely be among them. The supreme sharp knife level. The strong men present also quickly noticed the extraordinary nature of this knife, and their thoughts suddenly began to change. However, this is not over yet. Kurosawa doesn't just pull out the knife and play with it when he has nothing to do. When his knife is unsheathed, there will be blood. Buzz. The nameless sound was like the wail of evil spirits from hell. The surging spell power and the tyrannical sword energy condensed, and then instantly turned into a flying slash that shot through the air and slashed directly into Mariah's face. Whoa! The techniques and solutions of level 3 are combined with the slashing of the great swordsman at level 5. This sword is no small feat. Dark light flickered in the banquet hall, and a dark edge was reflected in everyone's eyes. Feeling the sharpness of the sword light, the strong men present could not help but feel their pupils sting slightly. This slash fell in Mihawk's eyes, and he had already made a judgment in his mind. The slash that stepped into the realm of a great swordsman was mixed with energy that he had never seen before, and the speed was faster than the average great swordsman's slash. Strike back quickly, interesting young man. The corners of Blackbeard's mouth slowly opened, and this flying slash was incredible. It's a pity that he was a Marine, otherwise I really wanted to recruit him. Bartholomew Bear's expression remained unchanged, and he was already calculating in his mind what would happen if this slash fell on him. Doflamingo, who was already bored, couldn't help but laugh evilly when he saw Kurosawa easily blocking Moriya's attack and counter-attacking at the same time. Fufufufu, what an interesting guy. Even he felt a strong threat from this flying sword strike. It would save him trouble if he died here, but today's meeting would be extremely exciting. Thinking about it, Doflamingo glanced at Sengoku. The latter's eyes were slightly dark at this moment, but he obviously had no intention of taking action. From Kurosawa's swing of the sword, Sengoku already had a more accurate judgment on Kurosawa's strength. With such a sharp attack, it can be said that no one among the new Marines in the same period can stop it. He is definitely the #1 rising star in Marine. There is really an amazing guy in Marine. It won't be long before this guy will be famous all over the world. In that huge war that is about to engulf the entire Malinfando. Doflamingo smiled evilly. So Mariah, how do you deal with it? Laugh. The extremely fast flying slash struck, and Moriya exclaimed in surprise. He never imagined that this guy not only stopped his attack at the last moment, but also dared to draw a knife on him. Dark bat, armed color hardened. In desperation, Moriya only had time to gather several dark bats and harden his arms to resist. With just a scoff, the dark bat was split into two by the flying slash, Chang. The dark red slash struck Moriya's arms hard, causing a large amount of sparks to rub off in an instant. Soon, the terrifying force carried by the dark red slash made Moriya's arms tremble. Under his horrified gaze, traces of blood sputtered out on his arms, and then it was as if he was hit by a giant ship. The body was suddenly blasted out, smashing the walls of the banquet hall, knocking down 2 more walls, and was buried by falling bricks, causing dust to rise. For a moment, the banquet hall was silent. Ding! Congratulations to host for fighting against 7 warlords of the sea for the first time. Received achievement reward. Achievement reward. Normal bounty value is 5,000 points. Oh, this system is really good. Is there any reward for this? The corners of Kurosawa's mouth curled up, and in everyone's eyes it was like a victor's mockery. All the Marine soldiers looked at Kurosawa in shock. They never expected that Kurosawa would suddenly attack Moonlight Moriya and be so powerful. With one flying slash, Moonlight Moriya was sent flying. Those are the 7 warlords of the sea. They are known as the third force on this sea. Such a being was actually chopped away by Kurosawa's sword. He must be dead. Just when all the Marine soldiers were confused. Ahem, fool. A mere sergeant Marine, how dare you attack me? Lousy as 7 warlords of the sea. A huge claw protruded from the bricks. Mariah coughed up blood and still cursed. How dare you do this to me? Believe it or not, Lousy quit immediately, leaving you Marine without a huge combat power when facing the Whitebeard pirates. Even though Moriya was roaring, no one in the banquet hall answered. Phew, foo, foo. Doflamingo even leaned back on the chair, put his face in his hands and started laughing. Why are you laughing, you fool? Mariah was furious, his chest was heaving violently, his hands were still shaking uncontrollably, and a lot of blood was left on his arms. A hideous wound with bone visible was left on it. At this time, Moriya already believes that Kurosawa definitely has the strength to defeat the Straw Hats. When he looked at Kurosawa again, his eyes had become frightened. It seems that after being defeated by Luffy, Moriya's once strong heart seems to have been recovered, and even the lost domineering energy has been condensed back at this time. Otherwise, the slash just now would be enough to unload him. 2 arms. You take yourself too seriously. You're just a Shichibukai. If you dare to leave, Marine will kill you someday. Kurosawa glanced at Mariah, and the famous sword in his hand flashed a cold light, which was reflected on the latter's face. Kurosawa's words shocked the Marine soldiers in the banquet hall. Yes, isn't Shichibukai a pirate? Without the recognition of the world government, Marine will still be punished. Marine is the real overlord of this sea. Shichibukai, what right do you have to be arrogant in such a situation? For a moment, all the Marine soldiers could not help but hold their heads high, and their brows showed pride. Noticing this scene, Zan smiled heartily. This is the effect he wanted. Moreover, what this kid Kurosawa said really spoke to his heart. He is just a tool recruited by the government. He is just a pirate, so arrogant. Sengoku looked at Kurosawa. He was a rare talent. Unlike the monster generals in the past, who were all crooked and vicious, he and Garp could both be considered good-looking. The more he watched, the more satisfied Sengoku became with Kurosawa, and he had already made up his mind to recommend Kurosawa as the benchmark for Marine in the new era. Are you looking for death? Moria stared angrily, obviously on the verge of rage, but he was also very afraid of Kurosawa's strength, otherwise he would have fought regardless of whether the meeting was held or not. He is one of the world-famous 7 warlords of the sea, how could he be stepped on by such a guy? A guy who can't even catch my sword dares to talk nonsense and has huge fighting power. Are you worthy of it? Kurosawa's tone was calm, as if he was stating the facts lightly. Lieutenant General ahem. Okay, give me some face, this matter ends here. Foo. It would be great to let them fight. I think what Kurosawa said makes sense. Doflamingo is still fanning the flames for fear that the world will not be in chaos. Kurosawa glanced at the guy in the pink fire feather coat. He was not surprised that Doflamingo knew about him. Gia haha. Blackbeard fiercely tore off a piece of meat from his thigh, obviously looking forward to them fighting here. Mihawk looked at Kurosawa with strong interest in his eyes. He originally thought that Roronoa Zoro, whom he met in the East China Sea, was a rare genius. But now it seems that this guy named Kurosawa has even more amazing potential. That's it, fool, look at my arm, it was almost cut off by this guy. Moria was still in tears. I said, that's enough. This matter ends here, do you understand? Crane's eyes stared at Mariah, with a cold light in his cloudy pupils, showing a strong warning. As a lieutenant general of the older generation, Crane, who was once known as the 3 heroes of Marine along with Garp during the Sengoku War, had a majestic character that could not be violated. Mariah quickly became honest, but the look he looked at Kurosawa was filled with viciousness and coldness. Foo. Lieutenant General don't be so angry. Seeing that there was no good show to watch, Doflamingo said rather disappointedly. This must be the Marine rookie who is famous in the Sabayati archipelago and killed 3 supernovas of the evil generation in a row. It's really extraordinary to see him today. Faced with Doflamingo's compliments, Kurosawa did not answer. It is very possible that the reason why Moria attacked him was because he was instigated by this guy. He's just like Crocodile, a guy who likes to play with people's hearts and uses fools as weapons. To everyone's surprise, Warring States suddenly stood up and walked straight towards Kurosawa. Under the shocked gaze of everyone, Sengoku looked at Kurosawa with a smile. Welcome back, Marine's hero, Sergeant Kurosawa. Wow, in an instant, the banquet hall fell into silence. Marine Fleet Admiral Sengoku personally came forward to meet Sergeant Ikika. What kind of trouble was going on? Envy, jealousy, and admiration all fell on Kurosawa, and Kurosawa was also a little surprised. Sengoku Fleet Admiral, this is what I should do. Countless people looked at him like this. Seeing that the atmosphere was in place, Warring States felt that the time had come, and his expression became solemn. Sergeant Kurosawa, I now officially appoint you as Marine Colonel with the position of Marine Fleet Admiral. Wow, all the sailors were in an uproar again. From sergeant to colonel, how many ranks did they jump to? Sengoku put his hands on Kurosawa's shoulders and continued, you performed outstandingly in the Sabayati archipelago, saving countless civilians from fire and water, and even killed 3 supernovas known as the evil generation. Not only did you severely damage the pirate culture, but you also set an example for the majority of Marines. From now on, you will be the benchmark for Marine in the new era. All Marines will learn from you, and Marine is proud of you. His eyes flashed slightly. The pressure that Sengoku had to withstand with this move was not small. If he did not perform well in the next war with the Whitebeard pirates, it would be extremely important to the majesty of Sengoku Marine Fleet Admiral, of blow. At this sudden scene, the Shichibukai present had different expressions, but they were not stupid people. As the Marine Fleet Admiral, Sengoku's actions at this juncture were by no means aimless. In other words, Kurosawa was really considered Marine's future by Sengoku. Quote. After a brief interlude, the Shichibukai meeting began. Its purpose was mainly to discuss the combat strength of the personnel. With Kurosawa's shock and Sengoku's actions, this Shichibukai meeting went more smoothly than he expected. The originally tense atmosphere was strangely relieved after Kurosawa's action, as if he had an outlet to vent and was no longer so tense. The most honest among them is Moonlight Moria, who was severely educated by Kurosawa. Near the end of the meeting. Fufufufu, Sengoku Fleet Admiral, I have a question. Seeing the malicious Doflamingo, Sengoku had no choice but to bite the bullet and Kaido. Ask if you have any questions. Fufufufu, Sengoku Fleet Admiral, I really want to know, this time the opponent is different from usual. Even if you mobilized 100,000 Marine elites, the opponent is Whitebeard. Do you think you can win? Hearing this question, everyone present began to judge which side had a greater chance of winning, and at the same time, they also turned their attention to the Warring States period. As the Supreme Commander of Marine, his answer is full of curiosity. After pondering for a moment, Warring States raised his head slightly with a serious look on his face. This battle, Marine will win. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.